good morning to you all. Welcome to the 2023 verdict this morning. And oh boy, it's just getting closer, isn't it? I'm Chamberlain Oso from Abuja.
Good morning. I don't want to look at the countdown. It makes me a bit nervous these days. I don't know if you get the same feeling. Welcome to the program. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, it makes me anxious. Now, it's about 48 hours or a little more. Good morning and welcome. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo and Luke, who's back with me.
Absolutely.
You're a sight for sore eyes.
Oh, you missed it. It's great to be back. No pun intended line. Let me douse the tension or the anxiety. It's a countdown to a festival of democracy. It sounds better, right? So it's not like something really tough. Yes, it's a decider for our nation, but let's see it as a festival of democracy, right? It is not war, it's elections. Welcome to Lagos. I'm Kalu.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, I mean, it was in Lagos that the APC held their grand finale, that's how they called it, the rally, which took place. But today, they are following up with an activity. So today is a day of press conferences, and they will be holding their Presidential Campaign Council's press conference today. So I guess they are all just closing, just winding down with all of those preparations. And boy, you can imagine to think, what's going on in those camps now? How anxious are they? What are they waiting for? But don't forget as well, yeah, while we go that way, we shouldn't forget the countdown, everybody. Oh boy, how could we miss it?
I think I must have had an
Am
effect
I moving
on you.
too fast? Oh boy, yes indeed. Take a look at that. 3 days, 3 days to go. So wherever you are, whatever you do, you need to keep it there and just ensure. But look, the thing about this is there's no last minute thing about the permanent voter card. That is over and done with. Now you need to ensure that you've done everything you can, clear your schedule, whatever it is you have to do to know where are you going to vote, for instance. You need to ensure that you have figured all that out and how to proceed on that day.
Well, you know, people always talk about how Nigeria has to shut down sometimes just so that we can have elections. And, well, I think there are pros and cons to it. Much as we look forward to a time when we can go about our regular activities, if you want to go to the market, if you want, whatever it is you want to do on that day, you can do. I mean, especially if it is bringing you your daily bread, that you can do. I think I certainly will miss a time when we used to shut down just to have elections. So I think we should enjoy it now, you know, while it lasts, and pray for that time when we will not have to shut down and, you know, we can go about our duties. Now, if you ask me, I think my anxiety is also a bit of excitement, or maybe it's a lot of excitement. I'm just giddy with excitement and a bit nervous as to, oh my, how is it going to pan out this time around? But we don't have very much to wait anymore. 3 days is what we've been told. And in no time, we will be there. So if you do not know your polling unit now, today will be a very good day. If you've been procrastinating, perhaps like I have, today will be a very good day to know where it is that you're supposed to vote. Do not wait until the last minute before you begin to search for it.
So what I will do is I'll hey, where are you? Where are you going to vote? What are you doing? Just send us a message. We'd like to hear from you. Are you a first-time voter as well? Let us know. We want to share in what's going on around you so that we'll just also get with the program from your end. Well, yes, but they say the APC will be holding their press conference today, so we'll keep tabs on that and bring all of that to you. So that is with the news today for the APC.
Indeed, and then also look at this. The national chairman of the Labour Party is to hold a media chat at the party headquarters today. That is also being expected. Don't forget, all the parties are wrapping up now. Yesterday, as you mentioned, we saw the wrap-up. Was it the mega rally of the APC? Today, they're holding a Presidential Campaign Council conference. The Labour Party is also holding a media chat. Now, what that will be about is still not clear, but I imagine that is also to wrap up their own talk around the campaigns and perhaps why their candidate will be the candidate to bid. If you want to confirm details, stay logged on here. We certainly will have it covered for you.
Right. Well, there's a lot of activities on the political end. There's also a lot happening at the courts. And specifically the Supreme Court. Yes, Supreme Court says lots of action. Quite all right. But at this time, the action seems a little bit more heightened. And today, the suit on the Naira redesign policy resumes at the Supreme Court. Yeah, February 22nd looked like a long time last week.
But it's
February,
here already.
Yeah, it is here already. February the 22nd is here. So that's something to look forward to. Just over the weekend, 3 states actually filed a suit. Saying that looked like the Attorney General and the CBN are contempt of a court, and they're trying to prove that case against them. Also, 10 states had filed a suit on the Naira swap, saying that the Supreme Court should direct, or at least say, that the directive of the president on the Naira swap policy is unconstitutional. So that's on the one hand, and then this one resumes today.
Yes, indeed, and it's a lot to look forward to. Nigerians will be waiting with bated breath on, what that outcome will be. Will it be just a hearing, or will it be a definitive matter? Nigerians really want to know if it will be a decider, because we're going to the elections this time around, not just with excitement, but also with some form of, anxiety for this whole process to be past us, especially because of the attendant difficulty associated with the elections. The Naira crunch is one of them, So Nigerians want to know what exactly it will be, and the seeming constitutional crisis, because some governors had said, no, you go ahead and spend the old Naira notes within our jurisdictions. And they've been reprimanded for that, So there are a whole lot of implications to what will be the outcome of today's hearing at the Supreme Court.
Don't forget, 9 states joined, some as plaintiffs, some as defendants. So we'll see what the outcome will be. Some supporting the federal government, I should say, and some as plaintiffs. So stay with Channels Television. We'll be crossing over to the Supreme Court this morning just to give you a feel of what's going on, guys.
Right, there you go. So, that said, we will go right ahead and take you through some of the dailies this morning.
And here they are.
Oh, yeah. So we'll start off with Leadership newspaper. So if you take a look at Leadership newspaper this morning, it's about 2023 elections. And why not? They're asking you, vote where you are. Northern Elders Ohaneze tell Nigerians. That's the bigly on the front page of Leadership here this morning. So that's what that is all about today. The vote, it's just going to be this weekend, and you can see some of the riders. It says, demand adequate security for citizens. INEC clears 146,913 election observers. Warns against interference. UK threatens visa ban on perpetrators of violence. So we also have that there this morning today. So it is a big one on the front page here. So there you go. That's just the biggest story here. So no matter what you see, you just see all sorts of stuff. But look at this. Naira swap. Kaduna, Kogi, Zamfara file contempt charge against Malami Emefiele. So we'll be keeping tabs on that as well for you. It's going to be an equally big day today concerning this Naira redesign, Naira swap, occurrence, whatever you want to call it. But all eyes will be on the courts today. How will they go?
That call by the Northern Elders and Ohaneze is very tricky, because if you didn't register where you are, how do you vote where you are? That call should have been made much earlier, about register where you are and vote where you are.
Vote where you are.
Yeah. So, let us hope that a lot of people are registered where they are, because there's been question as to how people travel if there's no cash for them to travel. Part of the feedback we got when we went out was that people were complaining that they wanted to travel to go and cast their vote in the It's very much like census. And, it's very interesting that shortly after the polls, I think we'll be talking about a census. Will you stay where you are to be counted? Let us know. But that is the, the charge of Ohaneze and also the NEF to their people. Stay where you are and vote. Hopefully you're registered where you are as well. Well, look at this. I'm looking at The Guardian for you this morning. They are focusing on a story we already told you about. Supreme Court order. APC governors file contempt action against Malami Emefiele. So you do know that that matter is coming up today at the Supreme Court. But ahead of that, a number of states have filed contempt orders against the AGF and also the CBN governor, alleging that they have not complied with the Supreme Court orders. That's what The Guardian is following up for you this morning. They have the pictures of the big actors there. Presidential directive on 200 naira notes stands, that's according to the CBN, to arrest, prosecute anyone spreading fake news. Aisha Buhari denies posting fake CBN statement on social media. Keep your old naira, Buhari Emefiele, not relevant after presidential election, says Oshomole. Oops. Yes. Did he really say that? Oh, you might want to flip to page 6 if you're wondering, as I am. Keep your old naira, Buhari Emefiele, not relevant after, you know, but the CBN governor's tenure is protected by the law.
Maybe that's an inkling to what that's where their mind is actually.
Okay. Well, page 6 is where you'll find details. At least we know that the president is in office till the 29th of May. We'll see how that eventually pans out on page 6 of the paper. Take a look at the bottom here. INEC to observers, don't interfere, excuse me, accredits 146,913 to monitor poll. The news is on page 6 of the paper. 3 days to presidential election. Gunmen burn houses in Imo. It's a page 7 read for you. You have a number of stories at the bottom. Endorsements are still coming in. T.Y. Danjuma Christian Elders Forum endorsed Peter Obi. That is somewhere there. NNPCL confirms rise in oil production to 1.6 million barrels per day. So it looks like the work they've been doing in the Niger Delta trying to stop the theft of crude oil seems to be yielding fruit. This came out at a conference yesterday where it is now being shown that we now are producing as much as 1.6 million barrels per day. Will that have an effect on how much revenue we're making, and will that also be able to put, dent perhaps a little our debt profile? Big questions. But let's leave it there for the Guardian newspapers.
And flip to the Nigerian News Direct this morning. The Nigerian News Direct pretty much sums up all of the updates on the Naira redesign crisis. And that's the way it starts. Naira redesign crisis worsens as APC, PCC, El Rufai, 2 others battle federal government. Of course, we covered that pretty much at the beginning of the program. But take a look at the riders. File contempt proceeding against Malami Emefiele as First Lady debunks May 1 old notes deadline post. CBN sticks to presidential directive to reissue only 200 naira. By the way, how's that going for you? Have you been able to get 200 naira notes from your banks? It was, pleasant to note that the banks opened yesterday, and we hope that they will open yet again today. Well, amid security, safety, and assurance that the workers will, go about their duties uninterrupted by hoodlums and all of other criminal elements. 2 more riders. Keep your old naira notes. Buhari Emefiele will expire on Saturday, or Shomole. Well, I'll take that again for better understanding. Keep your old naira notes. Buhari Emefiele will expire on Saturday. That must have been a typo error from the publisher. But of course,
which of them?
Page 3 will provide an insight into what is being the message that the paper is trying to convey. Let's take a look at the last of the riders. DSS debunks renewed investigation to arrest Emefiele over terrorism allegations. Now, that suit in court is yet to be laid to rest. It continues. So if you want all of the insight into this, you'll find them on page 3. But suffice it to say, just in addition to the conversation, that the CBN super agents, are found in rural areas in the northern parts of the country. And that's reassuring, helping the currency swap initiative. But it will help if they're further spread in other parts of the country. Indeed. To ease the hardship. If the policy is to encourage the unbanked to become banked, if it's inclusive, then the difficulties, the policies to address the difficulties should be just as inclusive to protect the vulnerable. And there are other stories to look at this morning. Buhari has worked hard for me, believes in my capacity as president. That's ascribed to the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress. Now, has the symbolic raising of the candidate's hand at different political rallies laid to rest all forms of controversy between the president and the presidential candidate of the APC? You tell us in your mails. And lastly, Shagamu Naira scarcity riot. Abiodun visits affected locations, vows to go after perpetrators. Let's leave it there for the Nigerian News Direct.
Well, take a look at New Telegraph with this one. 72 hours to elections. Yes, everyone is counting down. CBN settles INEC's ad hoc staff's payment. Oh, yes, that's a very important part of the election conduct.
I can't resist it. I want to rejoice.
On their behalf, right?
On their behalf.
They say the writers were aware of plots to ignite unrest, subvert polls. That's coming from the FG. INEC engages 200,000 NYC members, says 146,913 observers will monitor process. Just, imagine the magnitude of the election, deployment of logistics. This is a big election. Speaking to the EU EOM, that's the observation mission, election observation mission yesterday, and reading out the figures and just seeing how big this is. It's not just big for Africa, it is big for the world, because Nigeria, on lots of levels, is a very, very important part of the global polity. So yes, it's a big one, really, not just for us, but for the world at large. So all eyes will indeed be on Nigeria. You see about security, civil defense deploys 102,000. NCC dedicates 622 as election toll-free incident hotline. And you see this one. British government will punish politicians involved in poll rigging violence. So that's in quotes. Who said that? I know you can imagine that already, but that's on the inside page. It's a picture from the grand finale of the APC's rally in Lagos yesterday. Also makes its way to the front page. Yeah, lots of intrigue, but I think for you, the voter, just focus on your candidates and who you want to elect and why you think they're the right candidate. And don't get carried away with all of this back and forth, because that might also influence the emotions in the build-up and even after the elections. And finally, you said this one, I won't engage in politics of vendetta, Atiku tells Wike. So that's something to chew on for the politicians and their supporters. Let's leave it there for the New Telegraph newspaper.
And then to the Vanguard newspaper next. Naira redesign. Only old 200 Naira notes reissued. CBN insists. This follows some fake news that was being circulated yesterday. So they had to come out and take this position, reiterate what their stance is. Denies directing banks to receive old 500 Naira, 1,000 Naira notes. Buhari made mistake, Governor El Rufai says APC governors not against Naira redesign. Kogi, Kaduna, Zamfara accused Malami Emefiele of violating Supreme Court order. So all of that associated with that big lead on the front page of Vanguard newspaper here today for you to go ahead and see all of that one today. So yeah, much as you get to see. As a matter of fact, there hasn't been, I'm not sure there's been enough focus on battle for National Assembly. Hurdles before bigwigs jostling for return. How many of you even know those who you'll be voting for at the National Assembly? Who are your candidates? What would you be doing? Why would you be voting any one of them, for instance? Because they actually have a very big role. They are the ones who ensure that the laws with which the executive function are right. They make laws that shape your life, while the executive executes some of those decisions that they have taken. So we need to pay equal attention, if not a lot more, to those areas. The same thing for the states, houses of assembly. They are all important. Don't forget that.
Indeed, Chamberlain, I do hope that people will pay a little more attention to the people that they're voting for at the legislative level, so that we can have perhaps a little more of that rice and beans effect, where it is not an overwhelming pass for those who just are with the same, will I say, on the same party where they say perhaps your presidential candidate comes from. I think it would be very interesting to see that many more people can participate at that level, you know, and we can see maybe a lot more parties coming to the center, you know, because of the kinds of people that he has thrown up within them. Not people just depending that, oh, if the president gets elected by chance too, I will also, you know, have a good chance. That might work, but that should not always be the case. Yeah. Well, I have this one for you. Daily Trust looks at this one. 3 days to go. They're also keeping count. INEC gets cash for elections. That's the lead story here. Rex to collect money from CBN state branches. EFCC, ICPC, others to monitor spending. Okay? It's wrong. CBN usurping INEC's independence. That's according to Falano. So you find details on page 4 of the paper this morning. I think you're also focusing on the candidates for you. Yesterday they had, was it Atiku, 6-time lucky or last rodeo. Today is Kwankwanso, Red Cap Revolution is changing the tide. Pages 26 and 27 has details for you. A number of other stories there. Police deploy AIG, 7 CPs in Rivers, Kano. 7 CPs? Well, when you look at the population and maybe sometimes the propensity to violence, you might understand what it is that the police is doing. But let's leave it there for Daily Trust newspapers.
Okay, so there you go. That, I think, ends it. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. We will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Group in Abuja have converged on the Unity Fountain for a rally in support of their candidate. Dressed in the official colors of the party, they defied the scorching sun, singing and dancing. One after another, leaders of the group addressed the supporters, asking residents of the FCT to vote for Mr. Obi.
Today, we are doing what we call the last push. In the next 5-6 days, we will touch every grain of sand in this Nigeria. We talk to everybody. All our members are all over the place. The rally that is happening here today is happening in all the state capitals, is happening in all the local governments. That people, the people, we don't call them structure because Nigerian idea of structure is structure of corruption. We don't want structure of corruption. We want our people to be able to decide who is their president.
This Obidient movement is an organic movement. You don't really have to mobilize that much. What is happening to us in Nigeria, there's no need to tell you. So there's nothing special I need to do for the women. They come out en masse because they are the hardest hit by this failing economy, failing security, insecurity, and what have you.
The nation's capital is not left out of the cash crunch as residents constantly besiege banks and cash points to get the new notes. Nevertheless, the Peter Obi support group insists that a Naira redesign policy will stop vote buying.
There is something that is given. Vote buying will be hugely reduced, which is the best thing that can happen to this country. The citizenry of this country, we are highly impoverished. So when they keep you hungry, they give you 5,000, 8,000, you now think with your stomach and you go and vote for nonsense. But when they don't give you that money, you can think well. And you vote for your future for the next 8 years. And for every one of us, I am feeling the heat. Everybody in Nigeria is feeling the heat. What I can say is, please hold on. Like I said earlier, when you want to give birth, you push, it's painful. But once the baby comes out, you forget about the pain and there's joy all through your life. That's what we are expecting. That's what's going to happen.
Shortly after they take to the streets to mobilize more support for their favored candidate, they plan to hold more of this across the country.
Welcome back to the 2023 verdict, and as you've seen there, we've got Colonel Leo Abara, who is a former army officer. He's retired now, but he is the Director of Security for Labour Party He will be talking to us about the party, the security strategy, measures, and possibly path to victory. Good morning, Colonel. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Well, how does it feel for you, inching closer to the big day, Saturday?
We know that we are cruising to victory.
Cruising to victory?
We are sure of that.
Okay.
We are sure of that.
What gives you that confidence?
My candidate is prepared, and I think he's the best. This election is about security. Nigerians are tired of dying. People can no longer travel freely along the Nigerian roads without being kidnapped. Schools are closed in the north. Because of what? Insecurity. Farmers can no longer go to their farms. Because of what? Insecurity. So how long will Nigerians die?
But Colonel, not that one is trying to denigrate the voters, but have you actually, I assume the party must have, members of your party must have, even if it's a random sampling of the electorate, why they are voting who they intend to vote for? If you've done that and you listen to them, do you think that a lot of them are based on probably rational thinking as to some of the issues you've highlighted?
Of course. If you look at the polls, you know that Obi has been leading, not because he's the one conducting it. It's because of the programs he's putting on the ground. It's because of his antecedents, because of his achievement, and what he wants to bring to the table, in national security. Like I told you, Nigerians are tired of dying. They're afraid. Most of them call me and say, look, if this election do not go the way we want it, some of us will leave the country. Why would they want to leave? Because of insecurity. And if you look at the antecedent of Peter Obi, when he was the governor of Anambra State, he did it. There was security. And right now, he is the only one who has identified that the current security architecture is to be taken to the lab. And do you know the result? The result is that the current national security architecture has expired. It's obsolete.
Okay.
That's why it's not responsive to any of this insecurity confronting the nation.
We will talk about that, but I just want to find out. I know the party too, I think all parties do it. They do an analysis of their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Where they think they'll gather votes, where they think we may not get votes here, where they think, of course, we'll get 25%, and they plot their graph, their path to victory. Now, in that of the Labour Party, and which a lot of people always talking about his path to victory, some of the challenges they think he will have, do you think he's going to have that kind of vote acceptance nationwide, a strategy, those who are going to vote for him? Because you have people who have been vying for this particular position for over 30 years, still in the same race with him. So logically, people will say, wait, how is it going to upstage those who have been doing this? They keep learning for years. You see that happening?
You see, I followed, as a director of security, I followed him around the country during his campaigns. And anywhere we go, if you see the crowd that comes out to see Peter Obi, to listen to his message, it's enough to convince you that this man will win.
But you also know that you can't rely on just that crowd that come out. There are fine details. Do they have that permanent voter cards? Are they sure that they will vote for him? Do you, on that day itself, what will happen? The party agents, a huge component. So all of those factors play up in determining who wins or loses in a polling unit.
Well, I agree with you, but we have done our permutation. We have looked at our structure. We have looked at our followers and believe that Peter Obi will pull through.
Well, I want to, take you up on the issue of security. One of the things you did you are still doing for the Labour Party is, manning security for them. I'm just a little curious. First, how has it been, your experience going around? I know that you most likely flew around the country if you were with him, but in terms of making sure, that, venues were safe, etc., campaigns are safe, and even the candidate is safe while he's going about his duty, what would you say were your greatest challenges? I'm just a little curious.
Yeah, when I was appointed the Director of Security, I didn't know where he came from. But somebody called me and said, look, if you look at the insecurity across the country, you fit into this job. And because I've been in combat, I've had combat experience. And each time we go to any rallies, we study the ground, we have intelligence, and then we plan according to intelligence and according to the ground. And luckily, whatever we have done has yielded fruit. We went to 36 states of the country. There was no kidnapping. There was no banditry. There was no vandalization of any of our rallies. There was no attack inside any of our rallies. Mm-hmm. And that shows that we must have done a good job. And by the time we finished that of Lagos on the 11th, the rally, though the rally venue was not attacked, but on the streets, some hoodlums didn't want his supporters to come to the venue. But at the end of that Lagos rally, I felt that my team did a good job, securing Obi throughout his campaign across the country. Were there
areas that you had that you were a bit nervous about? Were there areas that you had concerns he was going to be traveling to? That's what I wanted to know.
No. Before he travels anywhere, we have intelligence, and we have men on the ground. We have layers of security that we put in place. Mm-hmm. In fact, you may not see them because you're not a security person. If you play some of those films, you will not be able to see the layers of security being put in place. Apart from the intelligence that we get, the other layers we put, and then the rally goes, everybody goes, but you may not, it is you, the security person, that has erected those security structures, will know that this has worked. And we apply this template across the country. Okay. And today, Obi is safe, traveling 36 states of the country, plus FCT, and I'm sure that my team, my colleagues, will did a good job.
You don't also think that your team, also benefited from the environment that perhaps your colleagues who are still in service put in place?
Yeah, we don't have troops. It is the government that, we rely on the lead agencies, especially the police, the DSS, the military and all that, to, to secure the principal and his campaigns. I give kudos to all of them. Like you said, we flew, well, sometimes we travel by road. For instance, I traveled from Kaduna to Abuja to Kaduna by road. I traveled from Kaduna to Minna by road. I traveled to Minna, Katsina, Gombe, and all that by road.
Mm. Well, you say that the reason I putting this to you, you say that Nigerians, part of what it is that your candidate has promised to come and fix is security. Yeah. You say the security architecture is obsolete. And
it's obsolete.
When you say something like that, as one who has been an insider, you retired as a colonel, that's a redneck in the Nigerian army.
Yes, redneck, of course.
In the Nigerian army. I'm just wondering, what exactly do you think that politicians, what difference do you think that political actors can make to security architectures, military institutions, for instance, when they take office?
Yeah, like Peter Obi is the only one who has identified that this architecture has expired. And he says, I'm not going to get into office if I'm elected with this old, obsolete national security architecture that is not responding to the security challenges of this country. I will have a new one. And as we speak, a new one is being crafted. Immediately he's elected, and he goes through it and ratifies it, and it will become operational.
Can you tell us what precisely is wrong with our security architecture that makes it obsolete?
Okay, now, you see, what we have now was inherited from the colonial masters. It was relevant for security threats of the 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, maybe, but not of the 21st century. It is the information age. How can you secure this country, a policeman carrying a baton? You can't secure Nigerian state with baton. So he has realized that the security architecture was designed to fight state versus state warfare. But today, instead of fighting state versus state warfare, we are fighting state versus violent non-state actors. And in the security architecture, it is regimented. You are trained, you are equipped, you organize to fight the way you are trained, to fight state versus state warfare. It's just like you're preparing for WAEC, you read in English, and then the day of the exam, you are served paper in French and told to write in French. No matter how long you stay in that hall, you can never write anything. And that's what we are going through today.
So how specifically is he going to address it? For instance, policing. What will happen?
Yeah. You see, in the new security architecture, I will come to that policing. The traditional environment that we expect threats are the air, the land, the sea. But today we have the cyberspace. It's affecting the country. I'll come to that. But policing, if you look at Obi's program, the manifesto, it says, I want to take security back to the Nigerian people. And that's why he was talking about state policing, community policing. People say, why would he want to disband the Nigerian police? He said, no, it's policing. If you look at the verb, the word police, it could be a noun, it could be a verb. When you are doing the act of policing, at the community level, at the state level, the people now own security. They become part of the security architecture. So from the wards, from the villages, communities, up to the state, local government, and to the federal, the country is policed. So this issue of ungoverned spaces, strange people coming into communities now have the capacity, have the chance to be able to say, look, we don't understand this person is a stranger. They don't understand their environment. So that's why he's taking this security back to the people under the program of community policing, state policing, federal policing, and all that. Secondly, after the new security architecture is designed, there will be reorganization of the security architecture to be in line with the 21st century, to have resemblance of the information age, and to be able to respond to the 21st century security threats that are confronting this country and the future and emerging security threats. Because there will be reviews. Every year there will be reviews of 5 years. What are the emerging security issues that may confront this country? We get ready for them. So the old security architecture has not taken care of all this. And that is why we are struggling. If you are trained to fight this way, and suddenly you're not fighting that way, it becomes a problem.
But when you talk about security architecture, the old and new, it sounds highfalutin because something, look, the only thing we need to adjust is ensure we get policing right. If we get policing right, will we have any need to worry about several other things?
Yeah. You see, the Nigerian state is in a state of chaos. There's breakdown of law and order. It will be unfair for you to deploy the police to go and restore law and order. What Obi is saying is that when I come in, I will deal with the insecurity and end it. That is a restoration of law and order. Then you can invite the police to now maintain law and order when the armed forces goes to protect the borders or face external threats. But right now, the police is not trained, is not organized, not equipped to restore law and order. That is the difference. Anybody telling the police to go in now will be unfair because they're not trained for combat. And the people confronting the Nigerian state are armed, well organized, trained to do combat. And the only people that can do that will be the military. And that's why the military is getting involved. So when P2B comes in, he restores law and order by ending insurgency and terrorism. Then the police comes in.
All right, let's get to Lagos now.
Well, thanks, Chamberlain. Colonel, I think placing some of these ideas and plans in the current reality of Nigeria is where the rubber meets the road, as they say, really. And I mean, talking about policing, state police, taking the security to the people, I mean, great idea. But we've heard time and again that we're under-policed, that we don't have as much personnel as we ought to have for a nation of over 200 million people, depending on who's counting. So I'd like you to, speak to the reality on ground, because you said that the people we're fighting against, or the people against Nigeria, they're well-trained, they're well-armed, they are well-organized. And I'll stick with the well-armed part. So if the people give intelligence, there's also be that angle that the people need to be appropriately armed, or whatever security architecture will be operating at those areas would need to be well-armed. We've seen states at this present time, seek approval for, their own security architecture, the various security outfits to get some better firepower beyond maybe the shotguns and the Dane guns that they have. And I wonder, for your principal, would he be considering, for example, approving high-caliber weapons like AK-47s under some sort of supervision for those state security outfits that we have right now, such that they can adequately combat the bandits, the terrorists who have, as you said, high firepower?
Okay. Under the new security architecture, they literally have known there will be reorganization of all the 4 components of the national security architecture. And when this is done, it will include increasing the strength, re-equipping them with modern gadgets and modern weapons, and the armed forces will be reorganized to be composite enough to confront these violent non-state actors. We don't need to distribute guns to private individuals, because we want to, Obi will want to clear the insecurity and then bring in the police to handle the internal security. It's not going to be a good idea for him to approve everybody carrying guns. That'd be chaos. And that's what we are witnessing today.
Pardon me, Colonel.
In the hands of the wrong people.
Pardon me, Colonel. This is not for everyone. Pardon me, Colonel. This is not for everyone. I'm talking about the state security outfit. I mean, we've heard the Benue State governor, for example, seeking some sort of approval for AK-47 for the state security outfit. I mean, we have Amotekun. We have all of these other state security outfits. So I'm talking about them, not individuals. I'm talking about those security outfits for states.
Well, by the time this new security architecture kicks off, I don't think such outfits will demand for such weapons, because our military will be capable enough to deal with these violent non-state actors once and for all. There will be no need for people to carry guns, because by then, law and order would have been restored. The idea of carrying guns would have nobody will be thinking about that. And the police will be in a better position to maintain law and order. The Amotekun and other vigilantes existing is because the current security architecture failed. And that's why we are now resorting to having militias protecting us, all sorts of people carrying guns, because the national security architecture is not capable enough to protect the Nigerian people. It could protect the seat of government, but the Nigerian people are not protected. That's why it's a knee-jerk solution of getting militias to stand in for the national security architecture that should have cared for the people. But when this thing is operational, I believe that there will be no need for militias, there will be no need for such outfits, because Nigerians will be free to travel any part of the country, because under that architecture,
right,
you cannot kill a Nigerian and be in this territory of Nigeria without being dictated. As long as your feet is on the feet of Nigeria, you'll be dictated because of the modern weapons, modern equipment we're going to use. As long as the sky covers you in Nigeria, you'll be dictated. Under Obi's security architecture, it will be difficult for you to commit an offense and get away with it. Under his presidency, there will be no unmanned spaces. And that is because this current security architecture is outdated. That's why you're having people carrying guns coming into the territory of a nation state and, telling people when to wake up, when to go for their businesses and all that.
Well,
that
Colonel,
will end.
Right.
He is going to have what they call security reforms. Right. And these reforms will go training, go into equipment, go into organization, go into a lot of other things. So I'm not going to give you a lot about it, but just be sure that under Obi's presidency, all this insurgency and terrorism taking place will be a thing of the past. And that is a man who has a roadmap. Right. The first roadmap, the first stop is, I want to restore law and order within this country.
Well,
that's
Colonel,
the first thing he wants to do.
Right. Having said time and again,
nothing happens.
Right. Having said time and again that the current security architecture, the setup has expired, and earlier on you alluded to the fact that your candidate has gone round the 36 states of the country without incidents in the rally. I mean, we've seen pockets of, attacks here and there, in Lagos, for example, but I mean, you were specific saying that in the rally itself, some will say perhaps it was close to the rally venue, and you alluded to the fact that lots of security cover was provided by the current security architecture, would seem. I imagine the police and other sister agencies. So to that extent, your candidate has gone round. He's safe. Would you commend the current security architecture, seeing that it helped to keep your candidate safe while he was moving around the country? Well, you have to look at still the presence of violent non-state actors operating in different parts of the country. That still tells you that the Nigerian state is still being shared by state actors and non-state actors, and that is not normal under a Westphalian state. Whether my principal traveled safe and came back or whatever does not nullify the fact that there's insecurity in the country, that there are people who want to kill others, that kidnapping is going on, banditry is going on, children are no longer in school. Farmers cannot go to their farms because of what? Insecurity. So the old security architecture that is obsolete belongs to the past centuries. It has no effect in the 21st century threat that is confronting this country. And my principal has identified that and wants to tackle it.
Colonel Abara, you talk about your principal as though he is the silver bullet to Nigeria's myriad security challenges, and that's understandable. But I wonder if your strategy is also in full cognizance of, the many factors, influencing the security challenges of Nigeria, be it the socio-economic problems of lack of infrastructure, unemployment, education on the one hand, and if you travel further down to the southeast, the reports of agitation, agitation for self-determination, coloring all of these problems. Now, you are a retired colonel, you have insider information. Would you be putting a timeline to the ability of the administration of your principal, should he win, to deliver this? Because whether we like it or not, security is high, is a big concern on the minds of voters.
Yeah, putting a timeline. Well, if I look at his roadmap, I discovered the first bus stop is restoration of law and order, and he wants to do that as quickly as possible. And what gives him the confidence is that he has understood the various components of insecurity that is, confronting the nation. You see, initially, under the old security architecture, banditry or terrorism is looked at as one big, humongous monster. But as a professional, when you look into it, you discover that it has layers. And why we have wasted a lot of time is that we have been fighting the foot soldiers alone. But when Obi comes in, he understands the different layers of what is confronting us. He will confront them as quickly as possible. And not only the foot soldiers, because we are wasted time. The foot soldiers can be recruited as they are depleted. But if you confront the other four parts of what is going on, I think it will go off. So the confidence is there. Terrorism and insurgency will be tackled because he understands them, and that gives him the confidence to have the security covenant with the people. And by the way, he is the only presidential candidate who has had a security covenant with the Nigerian people. When he travels around the 36 states plus the FCT, each time he picks up his microphone, he has the confidence to, pronounce the security covenant with the people in 3 sentences.
Articulated his approach. Pardon me.
High and dirty.
Pardon me. You've articulated his approach as much as you can, but would you be putting a timeline to it? How long, for instance, would you be delivering on security to the extent that, the military, the armed forces will withdraw from tackling internal insurrection, and then the police will be empowered to fully maintain law and order? How long can you, tell Nigerians that this would last for, and Obi would have delivered on it?
From the back end, I can tell you that within the first 100 days of Obi, Nigerians can travel freely on their roads. Farmers can go into their farms freely. I'm sure of that.
And should the administration fail to deliver this within the first 100 days, what would happen?
Well, I'm not sure that they will fail.
What gives you the confidence? Did you hear me? What gives you the confidence that your principal would not fail to deliver this within the first 100 days?
Because first of all, he has identified what is wrong with the national security architecture. Number 2, he has understood the various components of terrorism, and they will be dealing with them. The old security architecture concentrated on the foot soldiers that are being reproduced as they go. So once those 4 components are dealt with, terrorism will be a thing of the past.
And lastly, just before we return to Abuja, you talked about the possibility that there will be no unmanned spaces within Nigeria under the administration of your principal. I wonder if that also covers the thousands of porous borders that Nigeria reportedly has this time, and how will your strategy tackle this?
You see, when you upgrade your security architecture to be in line with the 21st century threats, equip them with the 21st century weapons and equipment. As long as the sky covers Nigeria, there will be no unmanned space. Intelligence will be in real time, as the old security architecture cannot. People are looking for intelligence here and there, but under that new security architecture, intelligence will be real time. So any part of this country will be covered, whether our waterways, our forests, our borders, our roads. And that's why the man has the confidence to say, I will end this thing permanently. Apart from the kinetic road he's going to follow, he has other projects, other programs, like the agrarian revolution, like the human capital development of the youth. That is coming on board. But first of all, the restoration of law and order is very, very important. Once that is done, then the miracle starts.
Well, I do know that the campaigns are wrapping up right now, and this is the last sweep up. We even understand that there will be a brief media chat of some sort with the Labour Party chairman at the Labour Party headquarters today. I'm just a little curious, are there areas where you have any concerns about in terms of voting and collation of the votes on election day?
Well, I think the chairman will be able to answer that. That's political.
You are a security consultant.
Yes, once with the assurances we have gotten from the Nigerian government and from the security agencies, I think they will do their job. I don't want to preclude that there will be problems. But I'm sure that there will be peaceful election.
Well, that's what we all pray for. But I'm just wondering if you have areas of concerns, areas that you would like the authorities to pay a little more attention to ensure that, you know, what the people vote for, who the people vote for, is who actually emerges as the candidate.
Yeah, from my experience of what happened on the 11th of this month in Lagos, I want the government to pay attention to Lagos. I don't know how hoodlums will just be let loose on the streets. Nobody's arrested, nobody's punished. It's unheard of. Nigerians in their country want to express their political opinion, they are macheted, their vehicles vandalized. I want the federal government, I want the security agencies to pay attention to Lagos and also the Southeast.
You know, when you say that security will be real time and
intelligence will be real time.
Intelligence will be real time.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not real time right now.
No, it's not. If people want to find out whether Colonel Abara and Chamberlain, they will just send somebody to come and find out. But under the new security architecture, we see you live.
So is that what any of these candidates cannot do when they win?
Have they said that?
Do they have to say it?
They have to say that. And that's why we'll be saying that. I'm here to say what he told me to say.
But we also do remember that when President Buhari got in the first term, first few months, we saw, without even lifting a finger, almost things fell into shape without, you know, doing a lot about it. The electricity was stable to some extent, people were behaving themselves. So does it actually take much to ensure that those things happen for a president?
Well, for President Buhari, you know, he inherited this architecture. So
No, I'm talking about what happened when he won the election, the first few months.
Yeah.
How things fell in line. Yeah. How they didn't need to do so many things, like all of what you highlighted now, for things to fall in place at the time.
Yeah.
So if anybody else were to win, do they need to do that much to ensure that these kind of things happen?
You see, if you look at the antecedents of Peter Obi, they've been consistent. Look at his antecedent in Anambra State. They were consistent from the beginning to the end. And he will tell you to verify. He's the only man that will tell you to verify. And I stand on that to say, whether he takes office today, things are normalizing. As it progresses, it will become better and best.
On election day, when people go out there to vote, because that day is usually different from several other things, all the plans, a lot of them unravel on that day. Are you still confident that no matter who, I mean, if they were your supporters, even if they were hungry, no matter the circumstances, if people present all sorts of things to them, trying to induce them, they will remember that they had to vote the Labour Party for these reasons that you mentioned?
Yeah, you see, choose life and money.
All right. Retired Colonel Leo Abara is the Director of Security for the Labour Party. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
Thank you.
We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
The city boy, as he's called in some of his outings, is coming home. So it's not a coincidence that his last major rally takes place in Lagos. It's no surprise that party faithful, supporters, stalwarts, various groups pulled together to hold a rally tagged Mother of All Rallies. The Teslim Stadium in Surulere had the numbers replicated as can be seen mostly during major football matches, with loads of music to accompany the waiting. As he arrives at the arena, he has come with the president whose job he is hoping to have come May 29, 2023. Leaving no one in doubt regarding their hopes, the party chairman sums it up this way.
In all the states that we have visited so far, we can say by God, we are there.
Yes, sir.
We have arrived.
Yes.
We have a president who, by the grace of God, will be successor in office of President Muhammadu Buhari.
I want to thank you for believing that indeed, with a new dispensation, we will all move forward positively. We will acknowledge what our president have done.
You want me to become president?
Then the city boy takes center stage, thanking President Buhari for his support, his commitment to credible elections before giving this charge.
As you work hard for me, I will work hard for Nigeria. Oh, thank you, thank you. As you give Nigeria the hope to renew their faith in their country, I will sustain that hope. I will bring it to you. Those who look helpless today will be helpful in this country.
In a concise and few words, the president performs the rites often understood as endorsement as he raises the hand of Senator Bola Tinubu and the Lagos State Governor.
To raise the hand of the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Ahmed Tinubu, and the governor of Lagos State, Sam Olu. Congratulations, and I wish APC the real best of luck.
Proceedings will come to an end afterwards, just as attention and the battle now shifts to the polls. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Welcome back to the 2023 verdict. As you've seen there, Senator Kalu joins us next this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, first of all, how is your campaign going on in the state? We know you are vigorously campaigning like everybody else for the National Assembly positions as well.
I'm not hearing.
Well, Senator appears he's already in his campaign fatigue. You would have thought that, what's today, how many days to that election?
3
well, I guess
days.
it's never over until it's over for all the candidates. So they do what they have to do when they have to. So, I remember the last time we also had another senator. He was also in campaign fatigue in the area. So, so it just gives you an inkling into how the campaigns turn out in different states.
Well, they're allowed to wear this until perhaps Friday.
Oh, yeah.
24 hours till the elections, and then, all campaigns will cease, and I think all party logos will have to go to the bedrooms. They'll have to take the back seat because election day is Saturday, and campaigns must cease, according to our laws, 24 hours before elections.
And it would be nice to get from the electorate in terms of how do they process all that? Because remember, the political class have this rift among themselves, and then scenarios may arise where they tell you, well, you can vote for this presidential candidate and then vote for this governorship candidate and maybe not this National Assembly member. That informs the rice and beans philosophy. And so one wonders what goes through their minds. How do they process all of that? Do they actually understand it? Because, historians will tell you, if you look at how people have voted over time, it is always tricky to tell them, vote for this presidential candidate and this governorship or National Assembly candidate. But who knows?
We'll ask the politicians, but I don't think rice and beans ever thought they would be mentioned in the same sentence as philosophy. But hey, what do I know? It's politics. Anything is possible. It was very interesting to see what is happening in the Southeast, and I think that's why we have Senator Kalu joining us this morning. He has left quite a number of parties, but he's now firmly with the PDP, minority whip in the, beg pardon, majority whip in the Senate, in the National Assembly. It'll be interesting to see how accepted his party is in the Southeast. We do know that the Southeast has a pretty interesting history. Fantastic. It's wonderful that you can join us, and I'm happy that you can hear us, Senator.
Yes, I can hear you.
And so my colleague already noted, Chimling already noted that you're still in campaign fatigue. I imagine that perhaps after this interview, you will still be going around the community or perhaps doing a last sweep of certain areas. But tell us, how is your party, the All Progressives Congress, being accepted in the Southeast, especially in your own area of Abia State? How are the campaigns going? Are you getting a lot of acceptability?
Thank you, Mokwe, and thank you, Nigerians, for having me this morning. My party is always well accepted here. Our people vote out of their conscience. They vote for who works for them. And this party I've never rejected in this senatorial district. This party is a strong foothold in here in Abia North Senatorial District, in fact, the most part of Abia now, because we're all working hand and deck to make the party popular here.
Well, it's interesting that you have emerged as one of the principal officers in the National Assembly owing to your membership of the All Progressives Congress. However, we know that Abia State, where you're from, has never been a part of, apart from when you were governor, when I think Abia State was, I think, on the leadership of the PPA at a point. It has been largely the stronghold of the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, where the current governor of the state still hails from. So can you tell us what the dynamics will be? Knowing that this is... Yes, we do know that there's also, the current governor is one of the G5 governors who has had a tiff with his own party. But largely, can you tell us what the feeling is like? How is this dynamics now going to play out within Abia State?
Thank you, Mokwe. You know, I was a two-term governor of PDP here, and I left when we are deregistered. And honestly, the dynamics are changing. Nobody knows who is going to win the governorship. It's very dicey here and very, very uncalled for. There might be surprises from smaller parties, springing some surprises against the two big parties here. So I feel even our governor being a member of G5, he had not come out plainly like Governor Wike, who is very courageous to say, I'm going to tint towards the APC in the presidential election. So I'm still watching. Our governor is a very subtle person, but a few days ago, he have not instructed his people to vote. But we are campaigning and fighting on our record. I think all those genes, all the barrier will be broken. It's a stronghold of the PDP, but we'll break the barrier. I'm out. Tomorrow, I'll be campaigning for our presidential candidate in Aba, and I'll be moving around Aba, all the places, quiet town hall meetings and all the rest of them. I don't do rally, I do town hall meetings where I can explain to voters and tell them the reason why we must be voted for. So the scenario here is quite different. We might be seeing 60, 30, 30, or we're seeing something of that nature is what we're going to see among the parties. So definitely APC will give good account of themselves in this state.
What's your party going to be selling to the people of the Southeast? We know that, the people of the Southeast, they're highly Republican people. And they're people who usually, yes, largely the Southeast has been the stronghold of the PDP. As people say, it's bread and butter. But they're people who also make up their minds based on their personal convictions. What exactly are you going to be selling to the Southeasterners, especially the people of Abia, as your party coming to make a difference you know, for them, especially when you look at how, I don't want to say hostile, but, you know, the APC government has not exactly received a welcome in many parts of the Southeast?
Well, we have to remember all presidents of Nigeria have promised the what they call the Niger Bridge, and President Buhari demonstrated last December that vehicles can go through the Niger Bridge, and it's almost, I congratulate my brother, former governor of Lagos State, Fashola SN, for a good job, and my brother Uche Oji, who also hedged the financing. So you can see that bridge is a standalone. It's one of the biggest investments that the federal government have made, single investment that federal government have made since inception of democracy. So I believe that our roads here, go and see all internal federal government roads in Southeast, for what it used to be before and what it is today. So we have a lot of things to tell Southeastern people that we are qualified to be trusted, and again and again and again. Yeah, there might be some areas that have not been done very well in terms of this money swap or anything you talk about. So there is no problem. We have done a lot of job here and still doing in the Southeast. The Southeastern people are Republicans, I agree, but the Republicans have eyes to see what is good. So I'm hoping, I'm believing that they will listen to a sense of reasoning to be where other Nigerians would like to be. I don't want to be alone. I'm not sure Southeasterners want to be alone this time. They want to be with other Nigerians in the stage of communal of states.
Well, when you say they vote parties, I mean, from what we've seen, you've been in PDP, PPA, now APC, and you won elections at different times. Doesn't that then tell us that the electorate actually, to a large extent, don't vote parties, they vote individuals? Because if you run elections on different platforms, isn't that a clear scenario wherein it is certified that, yes, individuals are who are what makes up those parties, and that's how people vote? Just trying to find that, if that's the case with you.
And that is individual that they will vote and give our presidential candidate what he requires to be president. So it's individuals. All parties anywhere in the world, parties around the world, they vote for individuals they can trust, they can believe. So I believe people of Abia North Senatorial District, indeed, people of Abia State, will listen to me and do what they're supposed to do. I've been having meetings with traditional rulers, with church leaders, with people, and explaining to them why we should be where other Nigerians supposed to be. And that is my duty. And I've done that. I've been here for almost 2 months. I left Abuja to be here for almost 2 months. And I'm trying to plead with all citizens to bring peace and let there be peaceful election here.
When you say that there'll be surprises in the state, were you also referring to parties like the APP as well?
Why do people like so much about APP? All journalists I have made in the last 1 month continue asking me APP. What is special about APP? Osoro, please.
Well, you tell us. You're the one in the state campaign. You're the one who said there'll be surprises, not us. You said it, so maybe
no,
you tell us.
What I saw in the field. There are going to be some surprises, some new surprises of the parties. There might not be what we used to see before, the dominance of the PDP. It might not be so, because there are new parties who are facing challenges here, who are giving us very big trouble here. So I believe that come 11th of March, it might be a different scenario. Yes, you are right. And other smaller parties that are nosing up will be might give us a rough fight here. That's the truth.
Well, you actually said it, so we're just trying to find out if that's the case. But when
what is the
are you suggesting that
you like Osoro is just a member of APP? Are you a member of APP?
Well, you already know the answer, so there's no point.
No, I don't know the
there.
answer.
Well, you already know. Several people know. There's no point going there. If I were, I'll be in the fatigue like yours.
You journalists
so
like,
that's very clear.
You people like to talk about APC so
But
much.
Senator, talking about your party and several other parties now in the state, will people, or do you think that electorate there in the state will forget about the challenges they are facing with the cash crunch? Because they say, look, why should I encourage that kind of scenario? The party that brought this upon us shouldn't deserve to come back, and perhaps who knows what policies they will come up with next.
No. Let me tell you, this cash swap have affected every Nigerian, including you and me, because this was the duty of the central bank. It has nothing, absolutely, to do with APC. Sections of the law that made the Central Bank of Nigeria show clearly they are very independent. Even if they give President Buhari to sign, it's just a mere this. Well, only way I am not very happy that is when the Supreme Court have given a ruling, the president ought to obey those laws and return whatever the Supreme Court of Nigeria ruled, because it's the highest court. I want people of Nigeria, if I'm in his position, if I'm in position of the president, I will obey the law that the judgment given by the Supreme Court, because it's always good for a society that wants to grow with rules of law, must obey any judgment given by a magistrate court, by a state high court, by federal high court, by court of appeal and the Supreme Court. That is what makes the country what it's supposed to be. Let me be honest with you. I've just given some people an example. When I was governor, I was building a road called Oboya Road, and I needed to go to Ariaria to collect water from Ariaria, coming back to the expressway and back to Oboya Road and sending them to the water side. A court gave a judgment that I cannot continue, and that project is still where I left it today, because I obeyed the court order and nobody has been able to lift that court order. So you see, it has its pros and cons. So it is better we obey the orders of court of competent jurisdiction, as long as the courts are properly seated, like the Supreme Court did. The Attorney General could have asked the President and to obey 100%, and also ask the President can ask the Attorney General backwards to go for review. And when they go for review, the review is what will bring the best out of it.
Do you agree with some members of your party who have been on this program who say, actually, this has affected our party? Our party has lost ground in the campaigns because the opposing parties have inched closer as a result of this policy, and perhaps some governors who are not equally happy with this policy?
No, we have not lost ground. For ground, no, we have not lost any ground. I don't agree with those who say we have lost ground. Our president to be Aswaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our rating is still very strong, and the base of our party is not challenged. All the challenge base, like whoever is running here in Southeast, is helping the APC. Whoever is running in the Northwest is also helping the APC. Those votes are votes that could have made PDP stronger. And the G5 have been a major issue for us. And for now, I know that my governor must follow Governor Wike. I don't know, but I know he will go with Wike. So it's likely we are going to work together with him. I'm still expecting his call for him to call me and give me modality and say we are going to work together. But he has not done that. I'm still waiting for him, and I appeal to all segments.
Just a minute, Senator, pardon me. Did you say that your governor, who is in PDP, will work with the River State? The governor is currently PDP. So is that the case?
G5. All the members of G5 will work according to G5 law. The G5 law is that they're not going to support their presidential candidates, and they are going to support Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that is what I'm saying. I say I know for sure that my governor and Governor Wike will work together, and if they are working together, it's going to work along line with APC. And he has not called me to tell me these are going to be the rules of the game, but I'm still waiting. Today, I'll be in Aba having private town hall meetings.
Senator, it is interesting that you're quoting with confidence, you know, G5 laws. It's interesting. Are you privy to their rules? I mean, we do know for a fact that the governor of Benue State is well, it doesn't seem to be, if there's any such law, it's certainly not following that law. He instead has thrown his hat, or he is supporting, giving his support in very clear terms to the candidate of the Labour Party, who also happens to come from the Southeast. So I want to ask you, how is the emergence and the movement of the Labour Party's presidential candidate, former Governor Peter Obi, how is it affecting your own marketing of your candidate in the Southeast, given the fact that this is, you know, for Southeasterners who have felt, you know, left out of things for a long time, they think this is their best shot in a while to the presidency. What are your thoughts on this?
Mokwe, it's not the best outing for us because, listen, for you to be president of Nigeria, you need other regions. I'm well experienced. I ran for president in 2007, and I am not sure that Nigerians are yet ready for a president of Igbo extraction. I'm not sure because I have tried to nose around that, and I am both close to both Nigerians. I've tried to put 1 and 2 together, and we have 5 regions, 5 other regions to be able to come up with. And I'm not sure, maybe what we are having is not what I'm thinking in my mind, because most of our people here are good doctors, they are good lawyers, they are good commercial people, they are the best in the businesses they do, but they're not bad politicians. So I still want them to go back and see how they can realize that the politics we have in our mind, we do politics with emotion. And I want Igbos to stop doing politics with emotion. I want Igbos to do a practical politics that will be able to drive Nigeria. If we really want to be in the communion of nations, we need to see the temperature of other regions. And I'm not sure that what I know, that temperature is showing me they are going to be voting for an Igbo man for president.
Well, Senator Kalu, good morning. I heard you earlier on Verdict's 2023 program, evening version, reiterate this. That,
hello.
Good morning, Senator Kalu. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing you, please.
Okay, it's as if you
okay, I'm hearing you now.
If you respond, okay. Can you hear me better now?
I'm hearing you.
All right. So good morning. I heard you earlier, and you're reiterating that the G5 governors will be supporting your presidential candidate. And I only know of the PDP constitution. So G5 law may be a product of your own poetic license. But I'm just wondering what implications this new political culture will have on Nigeria's political culture in general, because these parties, these governors are still holding on to their party structure at the state level.
Well, I don't know what culture is going to get, because voting, even if I have convinced you to vote for me, it behoves on you when you go to the polling unit to vote for whoever you want to vote for. And I'm sure, sincerely, that if we are to vote, people vote according to their conscience. And no matter the campaign we have done, people will still vote for whoever they wanted to vote for. So it's not a culture, it's not a law, it's not my law. It's the G5 have come together. And G5, they came together and they realized they must work together. And they're working together. I don't even believe I don't believe the governor of Benue State. Possibly, he just want to use that to win election, because the G5 from the inside sources have made up their mind they are not going to work for any other person than Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of APC.
But Senator Kalu, you must realize that there'll be elections in the future.
Are you a member of APP?
Well, you already know the answer, so there's no point.
No, I don't know the
there.
answer.
Well, you already know. Several people know. There's no point going there. If I were, I'll be in the fatigue like yours.
You journalists
so
like,
that's very clear.
You people like to talk about APC.
But Senator, talking about your party and several other parties now in the state, will people, or do you think that electorate there in the state will forget about the challenges they are facing with the cash crunch? Because they say, look, why should I encourage that kind of scenario? The party that brought this upon us shouldn't deserve to come back, and perhaps who knows what policies they will come up with next.
No. Let me tell you, this cash swap have affected every Nigerian, including you and me, because this was the duty of the central bank. It has nothing, absolutely, to do with APC. Sections of the law that made the Central Bank of Nigeria show clearly they are very independent. Even if they give President Buhari to sign, it's just a mere this. Well, only way I am not very happy that is when the Supreme Court have given a ruling, the president ought to obey those laws and return whatever the Supreme Court of Nigeria ruled, because it's the highest court. I want people of Nigeria, if I'm in his position, if I'm in position of the president, I will obey the law that the judgment given by the Supreme Court, because it's always good for a society that wants to grow with rules of law, must obey any judgment given by a magistrate court, by a state high court, by federal high court, by court of appeal and the Supreme Court. That is what makes the country what it's supposed to be. Let me be honest with you. I've just given some people an example. When I was governor, I was building a road called Oboya Road, and I needed to go to Ariaria to collect water from Ariaria, coming back to the expressway and back to Oboya Road and sending them to the water side. A court gave a judgment that I cannot continue, and that project is still where I left it today, because I obeyed the court order and nobody has been able to lift that court order. So you see, it has its pros and cons. So it is better we obey the orders of court of competent jurisdiction, as long as the courts are properly seated, like the Supreme Court did. The Attorney General could have asked the President and to obey 100%, and also ask the President can ask the Attorney General backwards to go for review. And when they go for review, the review is what will bring the best out of it.
Do you agree with some members of your party who have been on this program who say, actually, this has affected our party? Our party has lost ground in the campaigns because the opposing parties have inched closer as a result of this policy, and perhaps some governors who are not equally happy with this policy?
No, we have not lost ground. For ground, no, we have not lost any ground. I don't agree with those who say we have lost ground. Our president to be Aswaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our rating is still very strong, and the base of our party is not challenged. All the challenge base, like whoever is running here in Southeast, is helping the APC. Whoever is running in the Northwest is also helping the APC. Those votes are votes that could have made PDP stronger. And the G5 have been a major issue for us. And for now, I know that my governor must follow Governor Wike. I don't know, but I know he will go with Wike. So it's likely we are going to work together with him. I'm still expecting his call for him to call me and give me modality and say we are going to work together. But he has not done that. I'm still waiting for him, and I appeal to all segments.
Just a minute, Senator, pardon me. Did you say that your governor, who is in PDP, will work with the River States? The governor is currently PDP. So is that the case?
G5. All the members of G5 will work according to G5 law. The G5 law is that they're not going to support their presidential candidates, and they are going to support Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that is what I'm saying. I say I know for sure that my governor and Governor Wike will work together, and if they are working together, it's going to work along line with APC. And he has not called me to tell me these are going to be the rules of the game, but I'm still waiting. Today, I'll be in Aba having private town hall meetings.
Senator, it is interesting that you're quoting with confidence, you know, G5 laws. It's interesting. Are you privy to their rules? I mean, we do know for a fact that the governor of Benue State is well, it doesn't seem to be, if there's any such law, it's certainly not following that law. He instead has thrown his hat, or he is supporting, giving his support in very clear terms to the candidate of the Labour Party, who also happens to come from the Southeast. So I want to ask you, how is the emergence and the movement of the Labour Party's presidential candidate, former Governor Peter Obi, how is it affecting your own marketing of your candidate in the Southeast, given the fact that this is, you know, for Southeasterners who have felt, you know, left out of things for a long time, they think this is their best shot in a while to the presidency. What are your thoughts on this?
Mokwe, it's not the best outing for us because, listen, for you to be president of Nigeria, you need other regions. I'm well experienced. I ran for president in 2007, and I am not sure that Nigerians are yet ready for a president of Igbo extraction. I'm not sure because I have tried to nose around that, and I am both close to both Nigerians. I've tried to put 1 and 2 together, and we have 5 regions, 5 other regions to be able to come up with. And I'm not sure, maybe what we are having is not what I'm thinking in my mind, because most of our people here are good doctors, they are good lawyers, they are good commercial people, they are the best in the businesses they do, but they're not bad politicians. So I still want them to go back and see how they can realize that the politics we have in our mind, we do politics with emotion. And I want Igbos to stop doing politics with emotion. I want Igbos to do a practical politics that will be able to drive Nigeria. If we really want to be in the communion of nations, we need to see the temperature of other regions. And I'm not sure that what I know that temperature is showing me they are going to be voting for an Igbo man for president.
Well, Senator Kalu, good morning. I heard you earlier on Verdict's 2023 program, evening version, reiterate this. That,
hello.
Good morning, Senator Kalu. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing you, please.
Okay, it's as if you
okay, I'm hearing you now.
If you respond, okay. Can you hear me better now?
I'm hearing you.
All right. So good morning. I heard you earlier, and you're reiterating that the G5 governors will be supporting your presidential candidate. And I only know of the PDP constitution. So G5 law may be a product of your own poetic license. But I'm just wondering what implications this new political culture will have on Nigeria's political culture in general, because these parties, these governors are still holding on to their party structure at the state level.
Well, I don't know what culture is going to get, because voting, even if I have convinced you to vote for me, it behoves on you when you go to the polling unit to vote for whoever you want to vote for. And I'm sure, sincerely, that if we are to vote, people vote according to their conscience. And no matter the campaign we have done, people will still vote for whoever they wanted to vote for. So it's not a culture, it's not a law, it's not my law. It's the G5 have come together. And G5, they came together and they realized they must work together. And they're working together. I don't even believe I don't believe the governor of Benue State. Possibly, he just want to use that to win election, because the G5 from the inside sources have made up their mind they are not going to work for any other person than Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of APC.
But Senator Kalu, you must realize that there'll be elections in the future, and should the G5 governors become your party members, for instance, and that will not be the first time such political disagreements have led to major defections. So if there are elections in the future and there is a disagreement within your party could also get the same treatment. So would it be fair game?
Well, if you don't treat people nicely, people will leave. It's not about fair game. Politics is all about the world. It's about interest. It's the interest you represent. And these G5 governors felt their interest in where they are, because I have said it before to Bokwe. I'm not going to call anybody's name here. The other four, the presidential candidates, will be able to know that these people, they have not been treated fairly. And that is, this game is about interest. Their interests of the G5 were not properly represented by majority of their opinion. And that is what is happening. And this brings me to tell you that anybody running for president, anybody running for governor, anybody running for local government council should be careful on how he treats people. People should be treated fairly. And when they are treated fairly, and the whole business will be easier to do, because to me, as a person, I have tried in my life to treat people fairly, and that fairness and understanding is what you want to use to move further in life.
Well, speaking to the figures last time out, the elections in Abia State, the presidential election, while the PDP got over 200,000 votes, your party, the APC, then candidate Buhari, President Buhari, got 85,000. So that's more than ×2 of what the APC got, that the PDP got. And incidentally, you're also running in this election. And I know we were talking about this rice and beans mentality, how people would, choose to vote across the different levels. And the question will be, what has changed really? When we look at the numbers, they say numbers don't lie. What has changed fundamentally that makes you confident? Because the numbers don't speak to that effect. If anything, there's been another dynamic to it, which Markwe talked about, the Labour Party's presidential candidate, which seems to have even toppled all of the projections on its head. So what numbers are you projecting, really, off of the figures we saw the last time out and the current dynamics we're experiencing now?
Kayode, you know that in 2015, President Buhari made only 3% in Abia State. Are you aware? And he made 3% in Abia State. And 2019, President Buhari made 29.5% in Abia State. And he made 68% in my senatorial district, which brought the winning card to 29-point-something%. So the figures are very easy to say. Mind you, the previous election, the PDP had 2 million votes, so 1-point-something million votes in Abia State in 2015. And when I joined the APC, we were able to stop them from what they used to do. We stopped them to come down from 1.6 million to 200 and something thousand. So the total vote casted were 300 and something thousand, and the President Buhari had 85,000 from Abia, which was a tremendous improvement in anywhere you look at it. And we have continued to be improving. People of Abia North have seen something new. They have never seen the kind of development that happened here in the last 3.5 years. They have never seen it before. And President Buhari have given us a check for the vote we gave to him. He gave it a development. So I am very happy to report back to you that people are seeing that the only people working here are the APC people. There's nothing happening here. You know that. So, and these people desire, if they were proper APC, we would clean here totally. That is the truth.
So it looks to me as though you're saying, well, the goal is to at least achieve that 25%, even if it doesn't swing your way entirely.
The goal is to win this place. The goal is to win this place.
Well, I didn't expect anything less. I didn't expect anything less. I mean, politicians are eternal options.
No, why?
I'd like you to speak to this. No, it's understandable. That's the goal for politicians to win,
there's a problem
even if the stakes are really high.
Among the parties, if anybody will come first here, possibly not PDP. PDP are going to lose this state.
Well, the people will make their decision on Saturday, Senator. But I want to take you up on this point.
Yes.
Pardon me. You can land on that point. You were saying he might be going to...
No, I don't want to interrupt you. Please go ahead.
No, you can make your point. It's okay.
No. We can get to another junction. I don't want you to wear your glove to box me.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to do that, Senator. But I was reading an opinion about you from a spokesperson from the southeast of the PCC of your party, and well, he was of the opinion that you choosing to support, or at least come out now and actively, as you said, you're campaigning for your presidential candidate today. You've done that in previous times. He thinks that it's you trying to be opportunistic, because he actually chronicled this whole process, how you had supported the Senate president before now, even though people had asked, why aren't you at least supporting someone from the South, or in any case supporting someone from your region particularly? So I'd like you to speak to that, because to some people they're wondering, why now? Why not then from the scratch?
Let me tell you, Kayode, in every political setup, the party is supreme. The party is everything. Before we started this process, Senator Bola Tinubu visited me, and I assured him that I wasn't going to contest for president. And I also assured him that if he wins the nomination, which he did a marvelous job by winning the nomination, I supported Ahmed now, and I have no regret for it. He's my friend, was my roommate, and I supported him, and he did not win. The vice president of President Biden was an opponent to him. This is the civilization of political democracy. The man that was writing rubbish is idiotic. He should know that once party nominates a candidate, every member of that party is for that candidate. It's not for anything. Kayode, I run a business that is very huge, with a huge balance sheet all over the continent. So, I mean, in Nigeria, employing 13,000 workers is not a kid. I have a second address. I don't need to be in politics. I'm in politics because I have to be here to give my people a full representation. So I'm not a bread and butter politician. I run companies that are in existence, that are making waves in all kinds of places. So I don't want to get involved with people, with people that know that people tend to insult me. So we have passed that stage. My job is to speak the truth. And again, you know that in any political setup, once a presidential candidate emerges, those who have not joined Senator Tinubu are not doing good to the party. They are not doing good to themselves.
Okay, Senator. Because, well, that also speaks, forgive me because of time, that also speaks to your acceptance within your party. Because, I mean, if someone in your party at that level is speaking to your support, I mean, it raises doubt. But as we wind down, there was a comment you made just on the side now, because it was something that trended a lot.
You always come on the side whenever you have me. Come by the side. You like coming from the side.
It's okay, Senator. I just wanted to put it in for a lot of people.
Man. You always play offside.
Well, I play by the rules, Senator. The statement you made about how the Naira crunch is affecting you, and I mean, you just said it, that even you were finding it hard to maybe cook in the house. I know a lot of people took that, I mean, as the gospel truth. And I'd like to know, as the situation improved for you, is there food now in the kitchen? Because that got a lot of people talking, and a lot of people could relate with what you were saying. So has that tempered down at least?
Let me be honest with you, Kayode. The crunch was very, very, very severe. I have my people you can ask. Do you know, whenever I go out for campaign, the drummers, sometimes I used to give them 20,000, 10,000. It reached a place that I couldn't give them one naira. Because I believe the drummers, when they drum, they are waiting for you 20,000 old notes. This just started. At a time, we stopped offering people food here because we feed about 250 people here every day. That is the truth. So We said stop giving them food. I say you eat 1+1 and no longer the 3-course meal. They have to morning, afternoon, and night. I am telling you the gospel truth. We are in danger of where to get money because the banks in Omaya said they went to Central Bank for 5 days. They will not give them money. They didn't give them a penny.
Well, Senator Kalu, if you are a senator of the Federal Republic and a former governor, you know, are having it this bad, I'm sure you're imagining what Nigerians at the lowest rung of the ladder will be experiencing. And I'd like us to explore the point a bit further. The Supreme Court suit will be, resuming today. And if we refer to the last hearing where the ex parte order was reaffirmed, and then the president, addressed shortly after that, Nigerians chose to go the way of the president by obeying the president's announcement, pronouncement that the 200 naira will be reissued into circulation. Does this speak to the powers of the president? And are you concerned that there's some form of excessive powers in the office of the president in that regard? And is this a precedent, for the incoming president?
No. It depends on the individual. If I was still in the office of a governor, rightly, I would disobey the president and I obey the Supreme Court. So, for me, I've said it, that the president ought to obey the Supreme Court. And I say it anyway, I will say it before the president. And that is the truth, because the Supreme Court is the highest court of our land. And I don't accept anybody to disobey them. If the Supreme Court say, go back and do this, we must go. And Attorney General of Federation, with the consultation with other legal luminaries around them, will file to the review. Will file to the Supreme Court for a review. And that review is what I feel they have not done. And if I am in position, I will stick to what the Supreme Court says. The president's address was very good, but he failed to carry, he partially obeyed the order. He did not obey fully. So if I'm in position of the president, I will obey the Supreme Court order fully.
Senator, I know you once said that Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso's NNPP posed a greater threat to the APC than the PDP. Do you still maintain that stance?
Yes, I still maintain that stand, and we are working carefully. We have taken over. The APC, the PDP is not our headache. The headache in the north on our base is Kwankwaso's NNPP. And we have found a strategy where we have contained that party very well. I don't want to call these people by their names. I have tried not to call Atiku Abubakar, to call P2B, to call Kwankwaso, because they are my friends. I go to their houses to eat. So there's no need of calling them. But I know he posed a threat by the day I said that. But today, the threat is downgraded very well now, because we have been able to show where we are the ruling party, explain some things to the people of the north.
So aren't you underestimating the PDP by this stance of yours?
No, the PDP is not in the race.
Nationally or up north, or in the northwest or northeast?
National, everywhere, they are not in the race. I can tell you this.
Why did you say so?
My governor here is not going to vote PDP. And many other governors, I'm not sure Enugu State governor will vote PDP. I'm not sure Otom himself will not vote PDP. Governor Wike will not vote PDP. Makinde will not vote PDP. So there's a big crack unless you are not a student of politics, unless also you are not a student of reality or realism. So if we are facing reality properly, you will know that they are not in the race.
Well, last I checked, all of these people whom you've mentioned, even though you say you don't want to mention names, they only have one vote. And perhaps they are enlightened enough. I think my colleague Kalu already made reference to that. They're enlightened enough to, vote whatever party they like for presidential and still vote the candidate whom they're supporting for governorship at the race, which oftentimes will now be back to the PDP. I'm just wondering, do you think that the masses whom they're appealing to are enlightened enough to be able to make this differentiation?
Let me tell you, the masses themselves, let me take it from another angle. The masses themselves know that President Buhari have some of his great areas he has worked for them. No president in the history of Nigeria have implemented budget 100%, which President Buhari has done. It's just that, as I said the other day, that Buhari's public relation is very low. It's an ingoing person, not an outgoing. If I was in the seat of President Buhari, the media will celebrate me, the people will celebrate me. I'll go out by myself to explain what I have done. But the president have not been able to, is not an outgoing person, limited friends. Because president is not the kind of person that will drive out evening with a couple of cars to visit a couple of people in Abuja and fly to Abia to have dinner in the Ibere where he used to come and stay. So the president is not an outgoing person. If that president is like Tinubu, you hear a different story, because Tinubu is an outgoing person. It's Omoeko like me. So we know how to go out, we know how to come and explain things to people, and we know how to take you journalists to talk to you, because new journalists are also one of the problems of democracy, because sometimes you don't report what people really say, all the journalists.
Well, I take very strong exception to that when you say that journalists are, a problem. Journalists made huge sacrifices for this democracy. Journalists slept in dungeons. Some journalists lost their lives to bring this democracy to light. So when you say you journalists or all journalists, but, let me move past. I think that is clear.
I apologize to you, but yes, I apologize. I'm a journalist myself, I apologize. But you people are some of our problems. Because
Senator, you're a publisher. You're not a journalist, sir. I think there are two major differences. You're a publisher.
I'm no longer a publisher. Okay. I'm a free trader, and I'm not a publisher. And you people are sitting in air conditioner rooms here now. And when you sit in air conditioner rooms, you ask us all kinds of questions.
Which is very important. And I'm going to ask you one more important question, which has to do with some of the things that your party promised. When President Muhammadu Buhari was coming to office, he did say he was going to fight corruption, he was going to, fight insecurity, he was going to buoy the economy. Now, the judgment, or will I say the verdict, is out there as to how he has fared in all of these areas. The economy, that's one major place where I'm sure you might be finding it, you might find a very tough time defending the president's, outcome on the economy. But let me talk to you about corruption, which is one of the areas where he's also received a lot of criticism. How would you say that he's fared? Because some people say that perhaps his own treatment of you and the matter which you have had in court for quite a while might be one of the areas where he's also getting flack.
No. Let me tell you, I don't want to talk about that matter, because if I talk about the matter, I still have aspects of that matter in the court of records, and it is not right. Because if you really want me to say, I ought not to have gone to prison, because there were 19 witnesses and nobody said anything about me. So I was just jailed because they thought I was going to be president. That is the truth. And if I was given the opportunity to do what I wanted to do, the story will not be the same.
Who felt threatened by you? Who felt threatened by you?
I don't want to go. I don't want to go into that, but it's the same thing. The same thing. I want when I'm back in Abuja, I'll bring you the judgment of the lower court. I want you to review it. You said there were 19 witnesses. Nobody mentioned I sent him to do anything. Where they got that law, but I left that for court of records to say, please, I would like to excuse myself on the issue. I am very happy that I went to prison for 6 months, and I was very happy there because on 9th of December, I was supposed to be in Wuhan, China, for agricultural conference on this agricultural park we are building here. So I did not go to that Wuhan. Rather, I went to Kuje prison, which I was very happy. And on the 10th of December of the same year, the COVID came out from Wuhan. So I might have been in the grave with my forefathers now. You will not have an opportunity of talking to me right away. So I give thanks to God that the prison changed me, and the prison changed my mentality about life, and the prison brought me to be more humble to my constituency, to be more humble to my friends, and to be more humble to Nigerian people. So I'm very proud that they sent me to that prison, because all the life I have been a boy with silver spoon, and I'm very happy that I was able to be 6 months to see what other Nigerians are doing. So also the people in that custodial center have gotten benefit because I came there and I saw how human beings live, and I making so many changes in that Kuje prisons. You can go and take a look what I've done there.
Yeah, we need to wind down, but I mean, you didn't. I'm not sure you responded to the fact that concerning the promises that your party made, many say that you did not deliver on those promises, and if it counts for something, they don't see any reason why they should vote for your party again.
Let me tell you, no, there was worldwide economic problems all over the world, Chamberlain. In America, people are demonstrating of economic problems. In Britain, it's the same. In Cote d'Ivoire, it's the same. In Togo, it's the same.
Is that why you didn't deliver on the corruption and the power supply issues?
Listen to me. Federal government have gone out of power supply because you commercialize their power supply, so government cannot be standing on private companies. Do you want them to revoke the companies they sold out? You will say that Nigerian government are doing this. But
the federal government still handles
COVID made it very difficult. No, COVID made it very difficult.
No, Senator, the transmission infrastructure needs to be better than it is.
No, the infrastructure, road-wise and all the rest of them have been improved. I told you that. COVID made it very difficult. There was COVID, another inflation and depression, and COVID made it difficult for people to pay for 3 years, and all the rest of them. So you can find out that the depression you have all over the world is also affecting Nigeria. We are not a place that is exporting commodities. We are only importing. So Nigerians should pay less attention in importing commodities.
Well, it's up to them to decide who they vote and how they vote this Saturday, which will be a big one, and then the following one, which will be for
if
the
we vote, better vote for my party.
We thank you, Senator Ojuzo Kalu. Thank you for coming on today, and we wish you all the best. All right, then. So we will be back in just a moment. Join us again.
From across the 6 states of the North Central Geopolitical Zone and the Federal Capital Territory, these women have converged on the nation's capital days to the 2023 presidential election to declare support for the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar. In attendance are the wife of the PDP presidential candidate, Mrs. Titi Abubakar, and wives of former governors, among others, who are sure of victory for Mr. Abubakar.
I want you to know where you locate your PVC and every member of your household and guide it jealously. Guide it what? Jealously. Don't sell your conscience. This is the message we give to ourselves and then pass on to others, especially in our polling units. We must deliver our polling units. Every president that had won elections in Nigeria won by the vote from North Central Zone. That means that with some little push this time around, the gap that our president will give all the other contestants will be a very, very wide one.
To Her Excellency, Your Excellency, ma'am.
For Mrs. Abubakar, her husband has good intentions for women and youths in Nigeria.
Atiku is going to give the women microcredit. All these 35 affirmatives that we have been crying, we have been shouting. You all have said it, that behind it,
It is beside now. It is not behind. Beside any successful man, there must be a woman. And not just a woman, but a very strong-hearted woman. And who is that woman? It is Titi Layo.
In less than 96 hours, these women hopefully will be exercising their franchise, and Mr. Atiku Abubakar will be counting on their votes to make his way to the presidential villa. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed. Dakole Ijogi, a political economist and a member of the PDP, joins us next this time to let's get their perspective as well to see how things are shaping up for them or otherwise. Good morning, Mr. Ijogi. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Yes, good morning, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me.
Well, we do know that the North Central, the Middle Belt is indeed very crucial in this and any election. Well, not that other regions aren't actually. But so tell us, from your perspective, how are things looking right now? Because we did hear Senator did say that the PDP poses less threat to the APC compared to, say, the NMPP. So what's going on where you are at the moment concerning how these elections are shaping up and who possibly will get the nod, will clinch the victory at the end of the day this weekend?
Well, Chamberlain, to answer you honestly, the PDP is not in a very good shape. Reason being that happenings in the party, the historical antecedent that has happened within the party has put the PDP in a very precarious position. This I say is, I would like to say this by beginning by saying that those who know what the issues are in the PDP, they are not speaking. Those who understand it can only describe it. Those who have drunk from the poisonous chalice of betrayal and treachery are the ones shouting in the rain. You have a PDP that is divided against itself. You have a PDP that is led by what I will call a cacophony of shaded interests that is neither for political exigencies or for progress, but rather for ethnic and religious, idiosyncrasies. Chamberlain, every election cycle has its social, economic, political, religious, and economic idiosyncrasies. That is each election cycle. Now, within the PDP, in 2014 to 2015, these same principal actors are the ones, that is the candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and his co-hosts, the same gang, the ones that left the party in 2014 and ensured that the PDP is defeated in the 2015 elections, are the same people that have come together, the Dogaras, the Tambawals, the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And you see, the things that the Nigerian electorate is sensitive. The Nigerian electorate is watching. And now you now have the G5 governors. These are the same people that burnt down the house in 2015. In 2019, they came back to the party with rodents and reptiles. Now in 2023, they are still the same people. Now you can imagine those of us who are irredentist PDP members.
I'm not sure I get the point you're trying to make there, but those adjectives, I think we should just keep it on those issues so that they don't misconstrue your narrative as though we're denigrating their personalities, which I'm not sure that that's what you want to do. But just go ahead and let's stay on those issues and then talk about the chances of your party as a result of what is going on within your party. Are you ruling out your party from victory?
Well, currently I'm in Jos Plateau State, and I will tell you that the feelers within the Middle Belt, speaking to you as somebody that is in the national leadership of the Middle Belt Forum, I will tell you that it is not likely, because when you look at the numbers, Chamberlain, you look at the 2019 election results, PDP and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar got over 25% in the 6 states of the North Central and the FCT. When you look at the North the Northeast, they could only pull the PDP or Alhaji Atiku Abubakar could only pull 25% in 3 states. That is his home state of Adamawa, Taraba, and then Gombe. He had 9% in Yobe, 9% in Borno. And then when you go to the Northwest, the figures are also like that, just Sokoto, Jigawa, and Kaduna. And even in Kaduna, it is southern Kaduna, which is part of the Middle Belt. So, and these are the areas where the Peter Obi and the Obi movement have now occupied. So I agree with you, on the start of your question, you talking and saying that the Middle Belt. I will tell you that the Middle Belt is highly and very unlikely to vote PDP this coming election because there are different nuances, there are different scenarios that have been playing up. That you remember, not all Nigerian electorates are card-carrying members. The electorate have watched the PDP and they have seen the political intrigues and the infighting, whether it is the G5 governors, whether it's the disagreement of strong members of our party. You can see that the PDP is really not flying. I mean, you can hear the rhetorics from Governor Otom of Benue State. So you know that it is very unlikely that the PDP will win out of the 7 states that you have in North Central, and then you have about 4 states that are Middle Belt states in the Northeast. It's very unlikely that the PDP will win even up to 3 or 4 of them. That is, they will make the required or statutory 25%.
Well, it is interesting that you almost equate the Middle Belt with North Central states. I do know that when it comes to the social politics of it, there are states within the Northeast that some parts of them identify as North Central. For instance, Taraba and Adamawa, which geographically speaking might not necessarily be in the North Central. So, I mean, I'll take you up on that. But I want to ask you a very personal question. You are a member of the PDP and you've been introduced here as a member of the PDP. Will you be voting for your party's presidential candidate at during the forthcoming elections?
Well, the leadership of the Middle Belt Forum have resolved that for the presidential election, it is not about party. This time around, it's about candidates. So the Middle Belt people have been directed to vote for former Governor Peter Obi of the Labour Party for only the presidential election. Then in other elections, the PDP, the candidates have been advised to vote for the People's Democratic Party.
So
in other election, but for presidential election, we will be voting for the candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi.
So for you, your social political identity has come before your political party?
Say that again, Maupe.
Your social political identity, the fact that you identify with the Middle Belt Forum, has come before your membership of the People's Democratic Party.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has, because of the infighting within the PDP and then the suspicious way the things have been playing out. Like I was trying to say, that it is for those of us who are irredentist PDP members, we are very unhappy with the happenings within the party. I mean, this whole thing is about power shift. The reason why the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the Tamboas and the rest of them supported an APC government, left the PDP, supported an APC government to defeat a sitting PDP government was for power shift. Now, after 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari, we are saying that power should shift to the south, and they're saying no, they want to retain it. So it is for them. It is about religion and ethnic identity. So they have not even put the party first. So we are saying that, well, we in the Middle Belt have identified all the leading candidates, even if you remove ethnicity and religion, which of course, Nigerians vote on those lines. If you remove that, the 4 leading candidates from Orabi Ukwamposo to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Mr. Peter Obi stands out. And luckily for us, our people understand this and are willing to go with us. So the thing is not about party politics now, it's about candidates, just the same way, the same rhetoric that Governor Otom mentioned. It is about candidates. And then this 2023 election, it's so dire. Nigeria is in dire straits. We cannot afford not to get it right. We cannot repeat the same mistakes of the past. So it is about candidates and not about party.
Well, Mr. Igoji, I'm going to ask you to just hold on a bit. I'm going to take this to Lagos. One of our correspondents is on standby, and my colleagues in Lagos is going to quickly bring her in, and then we'll come back to you. Over now to you, Kayode.
Right, thank you, Maupe. Just let me stay on that conversation just for a moment and ask Mr. Jogi. For a lot of people, they might say that, well, maybe this was always going to happen, seeing your antecedent, especially politically. I mean, pre-2019 elections, you were in the SDP. Am I correct? Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear me or... I didn't get that.
Yes,
sorry,
I can
go
hear
ahead. You. Okay, so I was saying that you were in the SDP pre-2019 election. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We moved from the
up until
moved from the PDP to the SDP.
Right. Up until
we were disagreeing.
Sorry, you can land on that point.
With the emergence of Uche Secondus and his leadership style.
Right.
We were all for the same thing about power of rotation, the principle of rotation that is embedded in the constitution of the party.
Okay, so I mean, this went on up until 2021, I believe, when you were said to have returned. So for a lot of people, they will have said, I mean, this is no surprise anyway. You had left the PDP at some point, so coming back, they thought maybe you weren't even for the PDP entirely. So hearing you say this, some might not be surprised because they will have thought maybe you were a double agent all along. But I wonder for you, seeing that the party you belong to, if I'm correct again, you're still a member of the PDP, right? At least as at this morning.
Super K. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar left the PDP to ACN, left ACN to
It's okay. I mean, that's out there.
All of them are
that's out there.
So
I'm speaking.
It's not even about that.
It's okay. I know. I'm speaking about your person, just so that people know where this is coming from. You're still in the PDP up until this morning. Am I correct?
I have said so that some of us are irredentist PDP members, and we take some decisions so as to strengthen the party, so as to ensure that the party gets it right. Because we can't be doing the wrong thing consistently and expecting the correct outcome.
So here comes my question, Mr. Jogi. So how would you be strengthening your party? How is this move strengthening your party when you're clearly voting for someone who is not in your party, meaning that you want your party to lose this election? And your party, which you say you're still a member of, has, I mean, you have a clear constitution that speaks to anti-party activity. So help me understand, and by extension Nigerians, how will this singular act of you voting for an opposing candidate, by extension, making your party, at least contributing to your party losing, if that will happen, how will that strengthen that same party?
Let me start by saying that, let me just draw your mind back, cast your mind back to the elections, to 2008 elections in America. When the senior citizen, General Colin Powell, who is a Republican, endorsed Barack Obama, do you think these issues that you have been raising were not considered by him? Now, let me tell you this, that in a political system, especially like the one that we have created in Nigeria, that there comes a time when certain hard decisions have to be taken in the interest of our country. It is not about politics now. It is not about party. And besides, a political party is only a platform to get political power. And the political power is supposed to be used for the benefit of the citizenry. Now, if you are within a political party and you disagree with the processes leading to the outcome of candidates, especially the presidential candidates, it behoves on you. I mean, some people, people might not, I can tell you that over 50-60% of People's Democratic members who are not going to be voting for the presidential candidate of the party, especially the ones around in the middle belt. But they might not come out on air to say it, but on that day, they are going to cast their votes for Peter Obi. They are not Labour Party members. Now, you see, while we're looking at political parties and looking at Nigeria at one hand, and Super K, I would like to just draw your attention to the fact that at the end of the day, we go to the same market. At the end of the day, we drive the same streets with a high level of insecurity. At the end of the day, we look at the value of the currency that has been destroyed. At the end of the day, it is about a candidate that can deliver. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the institutions are weak. So everything boils down to the individual, to the candidate. And when you look at, like I said before, look at the front-running candidates, you know that the former Governor Peter Obi stands out head and shoulders amongst all the other candidates. So for me, it is about our country. It is not about whether I left the PDP or I'm in the PDP or I'm not. Of course, I'm irredentist PDP. I'm going to, I should leave the PDP for who?
Right. So does your party laws, the constitution of your party, I just want to be sure that, I mean, you're aware, does it allow for such acts? Are you aware that that is anti-party activity?
It depends on how you look at it. It depends on how you look at it. We are not, those of us who are irredentist PDP members are not campaigning for Peter Obi. We're not. We're not campaigning for him.
I mean, you just did, Mr. Ejogi. I mean, campaigns happen in different ways. You just did. You've talked about his qualities. If that is not campaign, I wonder what campaign is, because you're speaking to millions of Nigerians on this platform, and a lot of them might be swayed. And that's what campaigning is all about, really. Talk about the candidate, his strength, and say, well, that's the person I'm voting for. By extension, you should vote for that person. That's campaign in the simplest form.
Yes, in a very, very simple form. But what I intend to say here is, as in going street to street, stage to stage, and stuff like that, most PDP members who disagree with this whole process, they just have only one vote, and they're just going to express it on that day. And remember, it is secret ballot. So you can't even prove what this person is doing. If you see me on a stage where you have Peter Obi and the rest of them campaigning, that's the campaign I'm talking about. I'm just telling you that as somebody who is in the national leadership of the Middle Belt Forum, the leaders of the Middle Belt have resolved that this is the direction that our people should go with regards to the presidential election.
Well, Mr. Ejogi, your secret ballot, regardless, your position here on our program, points clearly to where you're headed. So I wonder how your party will be dealing with that. But let's look, a bit closer at the decision of your group, at the home level, the Middle Belt elders, to point citizens in the direction of the Labour Party, which pretty much enhances our fault lines. But then again, the argument could go further that the candidate that has been endorsed is not particularly from the Middle Belt. But this certainly has implications. But if I refer that also to how you started earlier on, saying that the people are aware of history, don't you think that the people will wield their independence this time around, regardless of how the Middle Belt elders have asked them to vote?
Well, we in the Middle Belt we work closely together, especially when it comes to matters of our own survival. For us in the 2023 election, especially the presidential election, it is about the survival of the people in the Middle Belt. There have been carnage, killings, kidnapping, land grabbing, land occupation, land expulsion. I mean, the Middle Belt is in the brunt of this matter. In the Middle Belt, there's carnage, there's bloodbath in the Middle Belt. And we are saying that when you have someone that is from a particular ethnic group that has ruled for 8 years, it is only common sense and based on, equity, fairness, and justice for it to swing the other way. And we are saying that we cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Let us try someone from the Southeast. Maybe this time around, we will get it right. Nigeria will be secure. A new Nigeria will be possible. Maybe, because we have been doing this thing over and over and over again, and the thing is not correct. So I'm telling you that we in the Middle Belt, we are closely knit. If you look at the voting pattern and you study election results, you will find out that the Middle Belt usually votes towards the same direction, from Southern Kaduna to Southern Borno, Southern Gombe, Southern Yobe, Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa. We all vote towards it. So we're closely knit. And I can tell you this, that for the first time, political leadership and followership are aligned. The interests are aligned. That is why we're all moving towards the same direction politically.
Well, it is interesting. I'm sure that a lot of, academics would like to explore the connection between socio-political groups such as the Middle Belt Forum and political parties as time goes on, because we also see that down south, especially in the southwest, Afenifere is also saying it is the turn of the southeast. They would like to support, they're appealing to their people to support the candidate of the Labour Party, but the political parties seem to have a mind of their own, and they have, you know, supporters there. It will be interesting to see what eventually pans out on Saturday. But in your own estimation, you know, what do you think should be the connection between socio-political groups and political parties? Do you think that they really help the cause of our politics, or they actually put a wedge between politics and, you know, national cohesion in terms of how we look at things?
Well, Mark, to answer you honestly, I think that the structure of Nigeria is defective. Hence, the need for these social cultural groupings to speak up, to represent their ethnicities. Because if you look at it politically, you have most of the local governments, you know how revenues are shared. Most of the local governments are further north. In fact, all the local governments that you have in Southeast cannot match the local government that you have in 3 states in the Northwest, that is Kano and 2 states, Kano and Jigawa. So the structure is a little bit defective, hence the need for other power blocks that represents particular interests. There is religion inside Nigerian politics. There is, and rightly so. I mean, the Americans got Donald Trump elected based on some certain political ideologies, that is nationalists, to say the least. So I think that to answer your question, looking at national cohesion, the history of Nigeria, how Nigeria was created, and the creation of states and local governments and stuff like that, from regions, local government, behoves the fact that we need certain political interest powers to also engage in the negotiation of who gets what and why and when, which is essentially what politics is. So we're growing in our own democracy, and we will get there. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight, and it will not happen overnight. And it will have to take efforts.
But how can you, pardon me, how can you say for sure that this disagreement within the PDP is going to count for something at the end of the day? Because we have heard people in the PDP saying, no, it won't matter, because we've seen other members of those states pledge their allegiance to the PDP. And they say, like every other leader, they all have one vote, and those votes will count.
Well, you see, the interesting thing about politicians is that we are diehard optimists. Nobody is coming to say that his own party is going to lose and all of that. But those of us who happen to have other professions, like I'm an economist, so I'm always looking at the numbers. When you look at the numbers, it just doesn't work out, because the political arrangements, especially when you look at where I prefer to call Arewa Nigeria, which is Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, all those up fringes of the north, which I call Arewa, not the Middle Belt, Arewa. When you look at that, you see the emergence of Kongoso going to hurt the PDP. And you come down to the Middle Belt, area, the emergence of Obi has completely taken over, which is the traditional hold. And like I said, when you look at the numbers, especially in 2019, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar scored over 25% in the 6 states of the North Central and FCT. When you expand it to the Middle Belt, these your so-called geopolitical zones like Adamawa, Taraba, and Gombe, he also scored over 20, which are Middle Belt areas. He also scored over 25%. But these areas are now fully obedient. So if you base the thing on normal to say that, well, this state traditionary PDP, the political calculation is changing. They said so about Macron. Now he's the president of France. They said so about William Ruto in Kenya. Now he's the president of Kenya. The political class don't want to accept that the traditional political systems are changing because of introduction of technology, because of interest of young people, because of the suffering of the people. People just want a new direction. They want to have hope. They want to believe in something. They want to birth a new nation.
All right.
So they can go and believe in all those old traditional political structures. And they'll be shocked.
They always say time.
A couple of days away.
Time tells a lot of things, and this will definitely be one of the things that time will tell. Well, thank you for talking to us this morning, Adakole Ijogi, political economist and member of the PDP.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
So let's head over to the Supreme Court. As you've seen, it's a big day. All eyes on the Supreme Court, and that's been on for weeks now. But today's hearing is an update to what happened last week, and we have our correspondent Kayla Megwa, who's been covering the proceedings, and she joins us live from the nation's capital this morning. Hi, Kayla. Big day again at the Supreme Court. Can you tell us what's going on now and what to expect today?
Good morning, Kayode. Well, we are still waiting. The hearing is supposed to start at about 9 a.m., so we have a lot of people just joining the court. We're seeing a lot of lawyers. This is packed to capacity. There's no place to sit or stand in the Supreme Court right now. We actually had to come out of the Supreme Court so we could have this conversation. Yes, today is the day, the consolidated hearing. Remember on the 15th, 7 states had joined the original 3 states, who are filing a suit against the federal government against the redesign policy, basically saying that the federal government and the CBN have to adhere to the Supreme Court order of February the 8th, saying that the old notes should still be in use until this case is heard and sorted out. Well, that consolidated hearing is today, and it hasn't started yet. Also expected today is the suit filed against the Attorney General of the Federation and, of course, the CBN, accusing them of disobeying the Supreme Court's order on the redesign of the Naira notes and asking them to hold off on the deadline that was given. So nothing has happened yet. We're expecting the hearing to start anytime soon, but for now, the consolidated hearing of these 7 states, including the 3 original states who have been against the redesign policy, and of course accusing the federal government of ignoring the ruling of the Supreme Court, saying they should continue with the old notes in circulation until this case is sorted out. So that's where we are. We're waiting for that case to start, and as it does and we hear what the court has to say, we'll be able to give updates on that. But for now, we're still waiting to hear what the Supreme Court will be saying about this matter.
Well, you've spoken about how filled up the Supreme Court is for that case. Last week, we saw some governors show up, just perhaps to drive home the importance of this case to them. So please talk to the mood in the courtroom and perhaps the attendance. Have we seen any, maybe a governor or major respondent in this case attending this morning?
Not yet, as at the time when we came out of the court, we hadn't seen any of them. Actually, that's what we're looking out for, to see. It's actually very rare to see state governors in court, but like we saw last week, we saw the Kogi state governor, we saw the Kaduna state governor. So today we're hoping to see if those governors will be here, and if we'll see more governors. Even remember, the number has increased from 3 to 10. So we're looking forward to see if any of them will be here. They're not here yet. We haven't seen any as of this time. But maybe as the day goes on, maybe they'll make their way into the court, and then maybe they will grant interviews if they're here, but we don't know that yet. But for now, none of them are here yet. But there's a lot of, a lot of feelings going on around here. People are waiting to see what happens today, this consolidated hearing. And if after today, the federal government will be adhering to what the Supreme Court has said. A lot of lawyers that we've spoken to, not very happy about the fact that the Supreme Court had given an order and that order was flouted, So basically, it's one of those situations where they're hoping that the Supreme Court will be hard on this particular matter today. But for now, none of those governors are here yet. But we'll be looking to see how the day goes, and then we can, hear what they have to say if they do get here.
Our correspondent right there at the Supreme Court. We're giving you all of the coverage so you will not miss any moment of that consolidated hearing. Don't forget, 9 states have now joined that case, and that's why the Supreme Court is consolidating all of that to hear the case. And hopefully we'll see how this goes at the Supreme Court concerning the Naira redesign. But thank you so much, Kayla. We'll definitely be staying with you during the course of the day for more updates, so please stay with us. Well, we'll go to break now. We're not done just yet. The countdown continues, and there's Lots of key information that you need to know about this coming election such that we can prosecute it right and get the right outcome. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.
Voting procedures during an election is brought to you by Channels Television. Remember that you're qualified to vote if you are a registered voter and your name appears on the register of voters at your polling unit. On each election day, polling stations will open for accreditation and voting from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. However, voters on the queue before the close of poll at 2 p.m. will be accredited and allowed to vote. Voting at the polling unit will be as follows. Step 1. At the polling unit, join the queue. An INEC official will check if you are at the correct polling unit and confirm that the PVC presented belongs to you. Step 2. An INEC official will confirm if your PVC is genuine using the card reader. You will be asked to place your finger on the card reader. Step 3. An INEC official will also confirm you are listed in the voters register. Your name will be ticked and your finger will be inked to confirm that you have voted. If your name is not found, you cannot vote. Step 4. The presiding officer will stamp, sign, and endorse your ballot paper. You'll be given the ballot paper rolled with the printed side inwards and directed to the voting cubicle. Step 5. Stain your finger with the ink given and mark the box for your preferred candidate or party. Roll the ballot paper in the manner you are given and flatten it. Step 6. Leave the voting cubicle and drop the ballot paper in the ballot box in full view of people at the polling unit. Step 7. Leave the polling unit or wait if you wish to in an orderly and peaceful manner to watch the process up to the declaration of the result. The result of each polling unit shall be pasted at the unit for everyone to see. Vote wisely and avoid vote buying. This announcement is brought to you by Channels Television, a network built on trust.
Yeah, welcome back to the 2023 verdict. Cynthia Mbamalu joins us next to talk us through what to expect on election day, how the beavers will play out for you, because that is the main, in fact, that's one of the first things you have to go through before you thumbprint, actually. So, Cynthia, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
I often wonder sometimes, look, do CSO even vote? CSOs, are they like us? They don't vote, just observe, monitor.
Well, sometimes we don't, because you know you have to vote where you registered, and most times we're either deployed somewhere else or we're moving around the country, around the state.
Oh, is it that, okay, well, sometimes. So at other times they vote, and when they vote, do they feel people that are looking over their shoulder to say, oh, you voted for this party? So in other words...
There is that, because you know Nigerians have trust issues.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, and which was why there's an advocacy that we need to have early voting for election day workers, so media, because I'm sure most times you also don't get to vote.
Yeah.
Observers, even security personnel is deployed. And most times a lot of them don't get to vote. But in other countries, people can vote early so that you can work on election day.
That would be interesting to see, after all. INEC always says we like to improve on a regular basis, so hopefully that will be one of the key components that we'd like to see some improvement on moving forward. But now the big day, the beavers. We can't talk about this enough, no matter how much, because it may still pose a challenge. It's a technology. So on that day, certain things will happen. So what do we expect when we get out there to vote with the beavers?
Yeah, so the beavers has two important functions. The first, it's used to accredit voters, and the second, it's used to transmit data of accredited voters and upload the results of the polling unit, the INEC result portal. So the INEC result portal cannot function without the beavers. That's how important it is, and people call it the game changer. But now with the new Electoral Act, the beavers will be used to accredit voters. In accrediting voters, what it's used to do is to ensure that first, your PVC is verified, or your PVC is verified and your fingerprint officials authenticated. Now, once accreditation and voting is concluded, the beavers would be used to transmit data of accredited voters. Now, remember that every voter that is accredited, the beavers records it. So let's say 50 persons came out, no, that's not good. Let's say 500 persons came out to vote in the polling unit. I'm hoping for a really high turnout. And they get accredited on the beavers. The beavers would record 500 voters, right? After the close of polls, the data is transmitted to the back-end server of INEC, so that there is that central place where there's a clear sign of how many people got accredited to vote. Now, secondly, the beavers will be used to take a picture of the INEC's the polling unit result form, which is called Form EC8A. Now, Form EC8A is the result sheet where records of votes are captured, so votes for each party, the limitation data, which includes how many voters are registered, PVC, how many voters are accredited, rejected spots, and all those important information. It's captured. Now, they take a picture of the result form and it's uploaded on the INEC's result portal. Now, what is important is on elections day, the beavers has this important, the important function IREF plays includes one, it ensures that polling unit level results are uploaded and available for voters, stakeholders to access from the comfort of their room. So you can vote, watch the counting. When the picture is taken, it's always good to be, we always tell voters, the part on vigilance is you sit back, ensure that the picture is taken of your result sheet, because if it's not taken there, it will not be uploaded. And then you can go back home and download, so you can become your own collation officer. Now, beyond that, at the result collation process, now there are two modes of, the collation has a dual mode system. One, there is the electronic transmission, which is done, but the officials also take the result sheets from the polling unit to the ward collation. At the ward collation, it is required that the collation officer would confirm that the data in the physically transmitted one, or the one that moved from the polling unit to the ward collation, is the same with what is electronically uploaded. Now, if there is discrepancy, what is required is that electronically transmitted version would be used to resolve the discrepancy. That's how important it is. And the idea is that we believe that at polling units, it's difficult for you to take a picture of the wrong sheet because party agents are there, voters are there. So whatever happens, we expected that there is some level of accuracy in that result sheet that the picture is taken, and that things could change when people move from one location. Magic could happen. But that once you electronically upload it, there is no level of magic that can happen. So that is why at that level of collation, there is there's that check to ensure there's no discrepancy, and if there is discrepancy, then the electronically transmitted one will be used to resolve that.
It's interesting you talk about vigilance, and you talked about how voters can be vigilant. There are new ways now, which include making sure that the results of your polling unit is taken in your presence. I mean, apart from the fact that when the polling officer, gets there, you have to be sure that, the number of accredited people on the beavers is zero. And then, I'm learning a lot this program. I hope that our viewers are also following. Before now, we used to have a situation whereby our viewers used to take pictures of the results in their polling units, especially when it has been pasted. We know that the results of polling units are also supposed to be pasted at the end of the day. So would they still need to paste it, or should they just go home and go and look? I mean, would they still need to take a picture of the polling unit result, or should they just go home and go and download it?
There would still be that process. So the idea is to make the process a bit more transparent. So you have different modes of checks. Now, after the result is recorded on the result form EC8A, they also record this on the 60E result form EC60E. Now, 60E is what we call the people's result sheet, because that will be posted at polling units. We still encourage people to take a picture of that, because it's always good to have multiple levels of check. What you have posted is also what is uploaded, and is also what is collated. And that is why we tell voters, so when it comes to elections, we have to we need to be aware and informed of the procedure. And secondly, citizens' vigilance is key to ensure transparency. So we can't just say INEC, INEC, INEC. We all now have a role to play, which is why information helps us better provide oversight over the process.
When you say they can be their own collation officer, now they shouldn't just wait at home to do that, because it'll be comfortable to do it from their homes. So you need to be at the polling unit if you're registered and you have your PVC, because that will help you. But How do they access this IREV in the first place?
Yeah, so to access the IREV, in fact, you should do it now because we don't want you to do it at the last dying minute. You go on the inecselectionsresults.ng. So if you see the link, www.inecelectionsresult.ng, and you go on this platform, you are requested to create an account. It's just like opening an email. So you see it pops up, it asks for an email and a password. You create an account. Remember your password because that is what would be what you used to log in. And once you log in, you can, in fact, try it today because you have all the results from Ekiti, Osun, and previous elections like FCT area council elections. So you can just see how it works. Click on the election of your interest. You select the state because if it's for presidential, you have to go state by state. You select the state, you select the local government, and then the ward and polling units. Because it's the polling units result that are uploaded. The idea is you can access results or view results from every part of the country, depending on the states of your states of interest. And why I said it's important to create the account now is because we don't want on elections day to say, oh, we have been trying to create an account, it did not create. Although INEC has told us at on elections day, the platform has the capacity to manage about 100 million hits on that day. But we're just saying because it's technology, it's always good to try out the platform now. Remember your password, and you can use that on elections day. But you said something very important. You still need to go out and vote.
Oh, yeah.
So vote, watch the process, and then go home because results will start getting uploaded at least from 2:33, depending on when the process concludes. And it's important you do that on time.
So while you try that at home, let us know if you succeeded, because if you didn't, we'd like to follow through and find out for those who want to, actually. But yes, we'll ask them to go out there and vote. How did they get their polling units?
Oh, yes, because, you know, INEC has created additional polling units, and we have voters moved to different polling units. Now, at this point, you can go on the INEC's results. You can go on INEC's portal. So there is the website first. So there are two ways. There is a website and there's a text message. I'll talk about the website, voters.inecnigeria.org. Go on that, put in your data, and you can access your polling unit. Now, we know that SMS may be easier for a lot more people, which is why you can also send a text message, the name of your state, your last name, and the last 6 digits of your voter identification number. That is that long number.
We like freebies.
Well, you know,
let them do what they have to do.
Try it first. I don't want to say that. Yeah, but these are the numbers: 0906-283-0860 or 0906-283-0861. That would give you your polling unit name. Now, it's important because what you have on your permanent voters card, the polling unit you have may not be where you are now because, especially for those who registered before this new process, because INEC moved people to polling units closer to their place of residence. Some polling units were over-congested, so INEC had to decongest so that you don't have polling units with 1 or 2 voters, and you have one that has 2,000 voters. So INEC had to move people. Now, INEC has started sending text messages. I got a text message from INEC.
Oh, nice.
I felt really special. I don't know how many people got the text message. But INEC is also sending text messages to some voters who have been moved. Most times, what is important is the polling units code. The last 3 digits is where you may see a change because some people were moved to just a location within the same polling unit. So let's say I registered in primary school A and there's a polling unit that has the last 3 code as 0011 and now I've been moved to 012. So sometimes it's just the code that changed and all you need to do is to locate it on time so that on elections day you're not spending time, trying to find out where you are. So this works. Send a text message, you get a response, or go on voters.inecnigeria.org and you would have a sense of where you'll be voting.
So if you're claustrophobic, go with a friend. Just notify somebody because this is an important duty. Yes, your health is important, but you should try. Maybe Mapa should look out for her text message.
I was just telling voters this morning that if they've been leaving it to last minute, procrastinating like I have about finding out their polling unit, today will be a good day. But I wonder, I'm looking at all of this. Do you For you, do you think this is simple enough for the average person, say a market woman, you know, to be able to understand?
Well, we think this is reasonably simple. However, we also understand that we have different levels of comprehension on our capacity to learn or understand procedure, which is why we always say for these elections, honestly, we need to literally be our brothers and sisters keeper. There are those of us who understand the process a lot more. This is where you volunteer for voter education. And we encourage actually young people. We have some people doing it in some states. Some of our young people, they go to markets with their phones and they say, do you want to locate your polling unit? And they're helping people do that because they have a phone, they have the capacity to do that. So I also think that because this is the simpler or the simpler version, the SMS, because the website is a bit more complex if you're not tech savvy. But we also encourage people, those in communities, if you can do this, help the people within your vicinity. At this point in time, every vote matters and every vote counts. And when it comes to elections, our collective responsibility to ensure that the process works and that it is credible.
So would you advise, or would this be allowed on election day itself? Because some think that, wait a minute, wouldn't it be tricky in the guise of helping? They might tell you, okay, actually, thumbprint here and there.
Okay, no, so this help is before elections. On election day, you vote because you know it's open secret ballots. It's you and your ballot paper. However, INEC could also post the register of voters across polling units. If you, on election day, if you go to polling, you know you see the register of voters. So voters are encouraged, before you join the queue, just go on that wall, check to confirm that your name is there. If it's not there, then you'd be directed to where you are. Now, there's another option that you may have joined the queue, perhaps you forgot to check the register. Once you approach the INEC officials, the first INEC official you'd see, they confirm to be sure you're in the right polling unit. If you're not at the right polling, they tell you to go to the next place. But I don't want you to stand in the queue 2 hours and then get to your turn and you realize you are at the wrong place, which is why we say before elections, check, or on elections, they go on the register, confirm if your name is there. If it's not there, locate your polling unit on time.
Well, Cynthia, I think we've got some electorates in Lagos. They've got their PVCs as well. Go ahead.
Chamberlain, good morning, Cynthia. For me, I'd like to know about that redistribution of voters, particularly with the concern of voters in Lagos in mind. We got reports some weeks back, you know, from a particular part of Lagos, Koshofe to be precise, where the voters expressed concern that they had been moved to other polling units farther than their location. And, you know, as a result of the concern of lack of mobility on election day and then security, that relocation did not quite augur well with them. I wonder if YAG Africa is providing some form of intervention in that regard for voters. Perhaps it's not just voters in Koshofe that have been affected. Similarly, there could be other voters that have been affected in other parts of the country in this way.
Yes, thanks for raising that, because this was actually one of our worries, first, especially for voters who did not update their place of residence. So people registered before now. Some people registered as far back as 2011, 2019, 2015. And there's a likelihood that people have moved. And for those who did not update their place of residence, INEC would move them to locations indicated in their previous place of residence, which is why we think we have this challenge. So while there was an effort to move people closer to where they would vote, we know that it was not a perfect system. So the only thing I can say now is, sadly, there isn't much that can be done now because INEC has concluded whatever it has to do with the register of voters. It's just to encourage voters, if it means identifying somewhere closer to the polling unit to be moved to, please identify that place on an elections day and try to access your polling unit. However, this is also something we're engaging the Electoral Commission on, just in case there is something that can be done. But I know that when it comes to the register, things have been concluded, and post the elections, a lot more review would be done. But please, we ask people to be patient with the process. It's not perfect, it's stressful sometimes, but democracy is all about sacrifice. And at this point, we need to bear that particular pain just to exercise our fundamental right to vote and choose the right leaders when we go to vote. So sadly, there isn't much that can be done, and sorry for any voter that is actually experiencing this major challenge.
Oh yeah, so there you go. 3 days to go. Don't forget, you need to do what you can now not later, now, because you never know what could come up next that might just prevent you. So don't be your own challenge or problem. Well, Cynthia, thank you, as always. Cynthia Mbamalo is the Director of Programs for Yiaga. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
One day, all the civil society people, media, essential services will also vote very nice and easy.
Yes.
And who knows? I think that should be sooner rather than later, actually.
Oh, who knows? Saturday might just be that day for me. Who knows?
Oh,
we have a few feedback from you now. We promise we'll always take them as often as we can. Matthew Diary is talking about Naira swap controversy. He says the objective behind the Naira redesign seems fantastic, but the implementation of the policy is very poor. CBN, in my opinion, did not envisage this level of negative impact on the general public. As at today, I doubt that the policy has any impact on Nigeria political industrialists, but generally on the masses, the downtrodden in our nation. And this is why I think the objective of the executive arm of government regarding the policy is already defeated, owing to sabotage in various sectors, especially across Nigerian banks.
We've got another diary here, but this is a tweet. He says the Naira swap has caused untold hardship on Nigerians, especially the downtrodden all across our nation. And this questions the good intention the federal government may have regarding the objective around the implementation of this policy, he says.
Well, this one is from Hiawarian. I hope I got your name correctly. It is so sad that a party that wants to return to power is so divided among itself. And the fact that they don't even believe in the policy of their government, it just shows a big crack, not just in the government, but in the party.
Well, Law Alpha Cross this time around has a tweet saying Nigerians have an opportunity to put in place good and workable governance, which will activate the dividends of democracy. Nigerians should as well recognize and appreciate the efforts of INEC to entrench peaceful and credible elections. So yeah, he's speaking at least for some recognition for INEC.
Yeah, so the clock ticks for all of us. It's going to be a big weekend, I reckon. Make yours count. Well, that is the show today. Thank you all for watching. We will see you next time. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Thank you. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf, wishing you a great day ahead.
Thank you for sharing your morning with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Well, it's going to be a big day. Stay with Channels Television for all of the breaking news from the Supreme Court and across the country. I'm Kalu. Goodbye.